I saved my nephew when he fell from the 7th floor at the age of 3. I thought he would be grateful to me, his aunt, but after being rejected by the school beauty, he took his anger out on me instead. If a firefighter had rescued me back then, my leg wouldn't have been injured, and I wouldn't have been given that awful nickname, Cripple. This is all your fault. My sister-in-law even pointed at my nose and screamed, "My son is so handsome, no woman could ever refuse him. It's all because you took it upon yourself to save him and ruined his leg. All these years of his trampled self-esteem should be paid for with your own legs." They broke my legs and pushed me down the stairs. I died on the spot. To protect their grandson, my parents claimed I died from a fall and had me cremated immediately. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my nephew fell from the 7th floor. Watching my 3-year-old nephew climb onto the windowsill, I let out a cold laugh and walked away. In this life, I want to see if firefighters can save you without me. As for the parents responsible for watching over my nephew, in this life, I want to see how my brother and sister-in-law deal with you when their grandson dies in your hands. As for my brother and sister-in-law, who struggled for 5 years through IVF to have a son, in this life, I wonder how long you can keep smiling. When I woke up screaming, I found myself not at the crematorium, but standing downstairs at my parents' apartment building on the 7th floor window ledge. My 3-year-old nephew was leaning his head out, just like in my previous life. My sister-in-law in the group chat is mentioning my parents, mom and dad. "How is Jude sleeping?" My mom quickly replied, "I just checked. My dear grandson is sleeping soundly. You can rest assured getting your hair done outside. My dear grandson is sleeping soundly," with a cold sneer. I shifted my gaze to the mahjong parlor on the 1st floor, just like in my previous life. My parents were happily playing their game, completely oblivious that their 3-year-old grandson was about to fall from the windowsill. But in that past life, I was passing by downstairs. When I saw the little boy climb out onto the sill, I immediately sensed the danger. I thought about calling 119 for the fire department, but before I could even press a button, I saw his foot slip into empty air. Without a moment's hesitation, I dropped my phone and sprinted forward. I had just reached the spot below and thrown my arms open when he plummeted down toward me like a cannonball. The tremendous impact slammed me hard onto the ground. My little nephew landed in my arms, wailing at the top of his lungs. It was only then that someone screamed, "A child has fallen from the 7th floor of Building 5. Everyone, go and see whose child it is." Amidst the screams, I blacked out. When I came to, I was already being carried into an ambulance. My little nephew was wailing in my brother's arms. The neighbors were all buzzing with chatter. "Your child is incredibly lucky." I saw it just as he was falling, and then, whoosh, I saw a figure rush over. I thought to myself, that person has no fear for their own life. You know, a child that size falling from that height could easily have killed them. So it was the boy's aunt. No wonder she risked everything to save him. What a wonderful aunt. When this child grows up, he must repay her kindness. My sister-in-law, Medusa, grasped my hand, her eyes brimming with tears. "Althea, if it weren't for you, I don't know what would have happened to our Jude. If anything had happened to him, I wouldn't want to go on living either." My parents, their faces deathly pale, collapsed to the floor. "Thank goodness for Althea. If something had happened to Jude, we couldn't have lived with ourselves." My brother, his face pale with lingering fear, clutched his young son tightly. He glared at my sister-in-law and our parents with fury in his eyes. "Thank God for Althea today. If anything had happened to Jude, I swear I'd make you all pay. 3 adults couldn't keep an eye on one child. You should be ashamed to even show your faces." My sister-in-law and our parents didn't dare utter a word, watching silently as my brother took the child away. I was hospitalized for over a month due to the severity of the impact, suffering from multiple soft tissue contusions and a concussion. My nephew injured his right leg, and it left him with a slight lingering issue. If you look closely, he has a bit of a limp when he walks. On the day I was discharged from the hospital, my sister-in-law came to see me with my little nephew and said to him, "You must remember to celebrate your aunt's birthday every year from now on, okay? Because if it weren't for your aunt, you wouldn't be here. She saved you." Watching my little nephew with tears in his eyes tell me, "I love you, Auntie," I felt that the injuries I had suffered were really nothing. However, as my nephew got into high school, he became increasingly resentful of my saving him. "I don't want to visit my aunt. It's because she didn't call the firefighters that I got my leg injured." I thought my sister-in-law would correct him, but to my surprise, she shared the same view as my nephew. She complained to my brother, if my sister-in-law had called the firefighters in time with the correct rescue method, Jude's leg wouldn't have ended up like this. My brother has heard enough to think it's my fault. "Althea, it's not that I'm blaming you, but if you had called the firefighters first, they could have used the fire ladder to rescue Jude, and his leg wouldn't have been injured like this. After all, boys need to get married, and now that there's a problem with his foot, the bride price will definitely have to be increased by tens of thousands of dollars before the girl's family will agree." He was hinting around that I should give some money as compensation, but I refused. As a result, my brother didn't talk to me for a long time and even said harshly that we shouldn't have any more contact between the two families. I'm furious too, given the situation back then. If I hadn't rescued Jude and waited for the firefighters, he would have been lucky to survive with half his life intact. A simple broken right foot would have been the least of his worries. But now his entire family has started blaming me. Even my own parents have begun to reproach me. You've ruined a perfectly good grandson. With Jude's looks, he could have had any girl he wanted. And now, sigh, if you have any conscience left, you should transfer the title of your newly bought house to Jude as an apology. That's when I found out that after being rejected by the campus belle, Jude had locked himself in his room and hadn't eaten or drunk anything for 3 days. The whole family was frantic, blaming it all on me, furious. I turned around and took the gifts I bought for my parents. Back home, I didn't go back for several months. It wasn't until my sister-in-law showed up with my nephew, knocking on the door. It was my birthday. I thought my sister-in-law had come around, and that there was no need for the family to be at such odds. Just as I was about to invite them inside, my nephew suddenly yanked me out the door. "This is all your fault for saving me back then. Do you know what the girl I like said? She said she'd never be with a cripple in her life. It's all because of you. If you had just called the firefighters to rescue me, none of this would have happened." Jude's veins bulged with rage, his eyes blazing with fury. Instinctively, I tried to retreat back into the house, but my sister-in-law blocked my way. "Althea, I actually thanked you for saving my son back then. Now I realize, if you hadn't taken matters into your own hands, his right leg would have been perfectly fine. All these years he's been called cripple. That's your doing." With that, she shoved me down the stairs. As I was blacking out, I saw my nephew raising a huge wooden club and bringing it down on both my legs. "Even if you die, you'll die a cripple. Now you'll know what it's like to be mocked." After I died, I thought my parents would seek justice for me too, but without a word, they decided to cremate me. Just say Althea accidentally fell down on her own. There are no cameras in the hallway. No one will know. At this thought, I looked at my parents who were engrossed in playing mahjong, gave a cold smile at my 3-year-old nephew, and turned back to my room. As soon as I got home, I heard a scream. "Someone, quick, a child has fallen from the 7th floor of Building 5. Everyone, go see whose child it is." I leaned over to the window and stuck my head out to look. What a pity. In my past life, when I heard that scream, I was the one shielding my nephew, the one who would kill me, tightly in my arms. This time around, I just glanced at my nephew, who was plummeting headfirst, and at my parents, who were stumbling over in a panic. I thought with a sneer, well, this ought to be good. My parents were the first to come running, but by the time they got there, a huge crowd had already gathered. Whose kid fell? My mom has always loved a bit of gossip, even though this time, the drama was unfolding right in her own backyard, but she didn't know that yet, so she eagerly turned to the crowd and asked. A neighbor replied nervously, "We don't know whose it is yet. It's face down, and nobody dares to touch it." "How on earth did it fall?" My mom, a notorious busybody, pressed on. The man replied again, "Probably some irresponsible parent who didn't watch their kid." By the time I saw him, the child was already climbing out the window. Before I could even call for help, I saw him lean forward and fall. My mom clicked her tongue twice and nodded. These days, there are far too many irresponsible parents. They just give birth but don't raise their children. If they just put in a little effort, how could they not even know their child is missing? If they find out later that their child has died, they might as well hang themselves. My dad chimed in slowly. On such a hot day, the adults were probably too deep in their afternoon nap. If anything happened to my child, I wouldn't have the face to live either. He exhaled a puff of smoke and said to the neighbor next to him, "Right, if something happens to the child, what's the point of the adults living?" The neighbor nodded. "Yes, and it's a boy." Nowadays, most families have only one child. If something happens to him, the family's spiritual pillar would collapse, wouldn't it? My father exhaled another puff of smoke. To put it bluntly, that would mean the family's lineage is cut off. What a devastating blow that would be. If it were my grandson. My grandson is blessed. Nothing bad will happen to him. If he were to pass away, I might as well drink some paraquat and end my old life. The neighbor patted my dad on the shoulder. "Your grandson is incredibly smart, clearly a blessed child. I hear he could recognize hundreds of characters by the age of 3. He's definitely destined for Tsinghua University. How could anything bad happen to him? If anything were to happen to your grandson, it would probably be because he becomes a high-ranking official and gets caught for corruption." My dad didn't get angry at all hearing this. Instead, he was all smiles. My mom was even more delighted. "That's right, our Jude is a prodigy. Every morning, he doesn't need to be called. He just sits there flipping through books on his own. He's our family's crown prince, a child we got through IVF for 500,000 yuan. Of course, he's precious." My mom laughed so loudly that some neighbors were displeased. "Isn't it inappropriate to laugh so loudly at a time like this when someone else's child is in trouble?" My mom glared and said, That child's misfortune wasn't caused by me, so why can't I laugh? Do I have to wear mourning clothes and cry for 3 days just because someone else's child has passed away? Just as a quarrel was about to break out, a neighbor who knew my mother quickly stepped in to mediate. Aunt Myra, it's already 2 in the afternoon, and Jude from your house still hasn't woken up yet. It was then that my mother checked the time and slapped her thigh. Oh dear, I was so engrossed in playing cards that I lost track of time. Jude should be awake by now. Stop watching the commotion and come home with me to wake up that little lord. His mom will be here soon to pick him up for his birthday dinner. My dad quickly stubbed out his cigarette and followed my mom upstairs. On the way up, my dad overheard someone mutter, judging by the clothes, this kid looks like Jude, Enoch's grandson from the 7th floor. At breakfast this morning, he cut in line right in front of my granddaughter. She told him off, and Enoch nearly took a swing at her. Hearing this, my dad got furious. He stomped back downstairs, turned to the person, and started yelling, damn you, Leo, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't just say whatever you want. You're cursing my grandson like that, and I'll kill you if you don't stop. Just as my dad was rolling up his sleeves to lunge at Leo, he heard my mom Myra's earth-shattering scream, Jude, Enoch, oh, God, somebody, please save my grandson. My dad froze, listening to my mom's heart-wrenching cries, like a log stuck in place. Then he saw the crowd around him looking at him with sympathy, slowly parting to the sides. The clearing revealed an empty path before my father. Through that path, he saw his grandson Jude lying motionless on the ground. The white t-shirt he had put on Jude that morning was now stained black with blood. My father collapsed to the ground, while upstairs, my mother's desperate, agonized wails echoed, oh, Jude, someone, please save my Jude. At that very moment, a shrill woman's voice rang out, well, what's everyone gathered here for? Hey, all of you. Move aside. What's this? Someone die or something, blocking the whole entrance. If you ask me, the dead are dead, but the living still have to get on with their lives, don't we? Out of my way. Don't you dare make me late to pick up my precious boy for lunch. If my son goes hungry because of this, none of you could ever afford to make it up to me. I followed the sound of the voice and saw her, my sister-in-law, the very woman who pushed me down the stairs in my past life, watching her smug, triumphant arrival to pick up Jude for his birthday. A cold smirk curled at the corner of my lips. This reincarnated drama is getting more and more interesting. Medusa, your son, someone, out of pity, tugged at Medusa's sleeve, wanting to tell her the news about her son's accident, for Medusa recognized the woman who had grabbed her. It was Mina from next door, who had 2 daughters but no son, and immediately shook off her hand in disgust. Mina, what are you doing? Trying to take advantage of me? I know you can't have a son, now that I've had one. You're trying every trick in the book to share in my joy. Let me tell you, don't you dare play any games with me. I'm planning to have a second child. You people better not take away the luck of me having a son. If you want your own son, go to the temple and pray. Don't just daydream about benefiting from my good fortune. Mina was left speechless by these words and shook her head as she walked away. As she left, she couldn't help muttering to herself, what a sin, she doesn't even know her son is in trouble, yet she's still thinking about having a second child. What are you talking about? What's happened? You better explain yourself. Medusa felt really unlucky seeing Mina shake her head and mutter about sin one more time. She yanked Mina back. You want to curse me, don't you, you useless hen? You've driven your own husband to extinction. If I were your husband, I'd divorce you immediately, unlike me, who gave birth to a genius son for our family, Dante, and I'll be living in luxury for the rest of my life. Mina looked at Medusa helplessly, feeling both angry and amused. All right, you're amazing, Medusa, you can have sons. I suppose if one dies, you can have another, then we'll all come to benefit from your luck. What do you mean, if one dies, you can have another? You're cursing my son, aren't you? Watch me tear your mouth apart. Just as Medusa was about to pounce on Mina, she heard her husband Dante's voice. The sound was like a thunderclap out of nowhere. The first time she heard Dante's astonishing volume was when she gave birth to Jude that day. The entire hospital could hear Dante's astonishing shout, I have a son. Dante, finally have a son. But this time, when Medusa heard Dante's astonishing voice again, she found it unusually terrifying, as if Dante was about to devour someone the next second. Medusa woke up startled, realizing that the voice of Dante calling out to Jude was coming from the dense crowd behind her. The voice was desperate and heart-wrenching, as if it had torn a hole in the sky, and Medusa turned around and started walking towards the center of the crowd. She took a few steps and saw her father-in-law Enoch slumped on the ground. Dad, why are you sitting on the ground? Where's Jude? Enoch could barely speak, and with a trembling finger, he pointed in the direction of the crowd. Jude. Medusa glanced at the spot where Enoch had been sitting, noticing a large wet stain in the scorching summer. She couldn't think of anything else it could be except urine. She felt a bit dazed, swayed slightly, and continued walking forward. People naturally feel sympathy for a mother's presence, so despite Medusa's sharp-tongued rants earlier, the kind neighbors still felt inclined to help her, but Medusa was having none of it. "Don't touch me," she snapped. "I'm the one who gave birth to a son. You're not getting a free ride on my success." "No way." Everyone pulled their hands back. Medusa took a couple of steps, then suddenly looked up and saw her mother-in-law, Myra, upstairs. Myra was staring vacantly down, a long string of drool hanging from her withered lips. The sight made Medusa feel sick. Her legs felt like jelly. It was only a short distance, but it felt like an eternity. Then she saw her husband Dante, whose eyes were bloodshot, glaring at Medusa as if she were an enemy. Her heart tightened, and she dared not look into Dante's eyes. She could only avert her gaze from his menacing stare and glance downward. It was this glance that led her to see her son, Jude. He was still wearing the new clothes I had just bought for him, and the trousers I had made for him with my own hands. Only Jude's head was gone, his skull shattered, brains splattered everywhere. Medusa began to retch violently, but no one came to her aid now, for everyone was obediently keeping their distance, wanting no part of her good fortune. Just as Medusa was retching so hard she felt she might bring up bile, she sensed a tall figure approach her side. She looked up with desperate hope, only to see it was her husband, Dante. Dante. The moment her lips parted, Dante swung his arm and slapped her hard across the face. He knocked Medusa's front teeth out. "My son is gone, now you can die too." After the beating, Dante coldly tossed out those words. Medusa wiped the blood from her mouth, paused for a moment in a daze, then stood up and walked toward her father-in-law. Enoch was still sitting on the ground. The urine was evaporating quickly under the summer sun, giving off a foul, pungent smell. Medusa asked, "Where's Jude?" Enoch looked at her blankly, then pointed at Dante's retreating back. "Jude?" Medusa pressed on. "Dad, I'm asking you, where is Jude?" Enoch shook his head. "Dead." Medusa asked the same question again. "Where is my son, Jude?" Enoch glanced at Medusa, feeling her gaze could devour him. Trembling, he tried to get up and said, "I don't know. You have no idea." Medusa's voice was as cold and sharp as a blade. She grabbed Enoch by the collar and yanked him backward, sending him crashing down onto the concrete. A searing, bone-deep pain shot through his tailbone, as if it had been snapped clean in two. Before he could even process it, Medusa's contorted face was already looming over him. "If you don't know where Jude is, I'll beat it out of you." Medusa slapped Enoch hard across the face. "Where is Jude? You said he was sleeping. Now you claim you don't know where he is. You're full of shit. Tell me quickly, where is my son? Go ahead." When Enoch was beaten to the point of rolling his eyes and foaming at the mouth, only then did Medusa understand what Enoch was saying, and she leaned in to listen closely. Enoch cried out, "Jude is dead. You have no son, and the Enoch family line has come to an end." Upon hearing this, Medusa snatched up a stone at her feet and hurled it at Enoch. "It's your son who's dead, you old bastard. Cursing your own grandson. I think you've lived long enough yourself. All you do is play cards all day. What's the point of you even being alive?" The stone struck Enoch's head, causing crimson blossoms of blood to bloom one after another. Enoch's head was left looking like the cratered surface of a meteorite. "The biggest dent is on the back of the head. That dent reminded me of the fatal wound from my previous life. When I fell down the stairs, I remember, as I was dying." Enoch touched my wound and said cautiously, "Jude, if anyone asks how your aunt died, you must remember to say she fell. Do you understand? Now, go wash your hands and get ready for school. Grandma and I will contact the funeral home right away to have your aunt cremated. In my past life, my father only cared about saving his grandson, showing no mercy to his daughter who had donated a kidney to him, paid for his medical treatment, and provided full-time care for 2 years. So in this life, when Enoch was being hit on the head repeatedly by Medusa with stones, I felt no sorrow at all. If you ask me, it was a good hit. Murder, everyone. Please save Enoch. What kind of sin have we committed? Don't just stand there watching. Hurry up and call the police." An eye for an eye. Myra, who had been upstairs all along, finally snapped out of it and started yelling for someone to call 911. Medusa finally stopped smashing Enoch's head with the brick. For a moment, I thought she was done, but then, with a furrowed brow, she clutched the brick, now slick with blood, and turned to head upstairs. A few people tried to stop her, but she scared them all back. We live in an old neighborhood with few young people, mostly it's elderly folks with children. Seeing the crazed Medusa and the brick in her hand, the elderly and the vulnerable dared not approach. Medusa thundered up the stairs. She was barefoot. Her high heels were long gone. Who knows where she threw them? People frantically pulled out their phones to call the police, hoping they would arrive quickly. "Mom, where's my child? Downstairs, people heard Medusa ask her father-in-law, Enoch, that same question again, only this time, Medusa was directing it at her mother-in-law. Myra's pleading voice rang out, "Medusa, I'm sorry, Mom didn't mean it. I saw Jude sleeping soundly, so I thought I'd go play a quick round of mahjong. Usually, he wakes up late, but I didn't expect him to wake up early today. He's my grandson, and I don't want anything to happen to him. You old hag, where is my son Jude?" Medusa's voice demanded. Terrifyingly loud, I sipped my tea and looked out the window, just in time to see Myra kneel down to Medusa with a thud. "Medusa, please, for all these years I've treated you well, let me go. We can have more children. You're blessed and can definitely have another son. Dante loves you so much. He won't blame you. You see, this house was bought by my daughter for me to retire in. You said you wanted it. So I immediately changed the name to yours. You also wanted to buy a car with the money Althea had saved with me, so I withdrew all of it and gave it to you. When Althea asked me for 5,000 yuan, I said I didn't have it. Medusa, I treat you even better than my own daughter. It just occurred to me that in my previous life, when I was on a business trip abroad, my mom suddenly told me my dad needed 500,000 yuan for heart surgery. I immediately emptied my savings and borrowed money from everywhere to gather 500,000 yuan for her. When I returned home, everyone said that if I hadn't managed to gather the money in time, my dad would have died because he couldn't have the surgery. Only in this life did I find out that the money was a scheme by the whole family to trick me into funding my brother and sister-in-law's IVF treatment. My hand gripping the cup turned white at the knuckles due to the force, and despite being reborn, I still couldn't help but feel emotional about my parents' favoritism towards my brother. But fortunately, I have almost no sympathy left. Even I, her own daughter, felt so cold and detached. When Medusa heard my mother's words, she didn't even bat an eye as she grabbed Myra by the throat and pinned her against the balcony railing as if she were a chick. The balconies in these old apartment blocks had no safety nets. Half of Myra's body was dangling over the edge. She wanted to fight back, but she was terrified that any sudden move might send her tumbling down. I could only remain motionless to protect myself. Medusa's hands were covered in blood, and her eyes were red as if bleeding. "You old hag, who wants your crappy house, who cares about your filthy money? I only want my son. If you don't find my son, you're all going to die one by one. You're not fond of playing mahjong. Well, I'll send you to the first floor to play mahjong right now." Just as Medusa was about to lift Myra's legs, and it seemed Myra was on the verge of falling, Enoch appeared, pointing a trembling finger at Medusa. "Darling, murder is against the law. Please, calm down." But Medusa raged. "You know it's against the law, do you? Then why didn't you take proper care of Jude? You killed my son. I'll have you all join him in the grave." At that moment, Dante returned carrying Jude. He silently carried his son into the bedroom. When he came out, both parents turned their pleading eyes toward their dear son. "Dante, go save your mother." Enoch grabbed Dante's hand, thinking his son would help him and his wife. But to his surprise, my brother shook him off. "Medusa is right. You're responsible for Jude's death." Myra was stunned. "Son, do you want me dead too, just like Medusa does?" Dante looked up, his eyes completely devoid of emotion. "Medusa asked you, and Jude wasn't sleeping. You were playing mahjong but lied saying Jude was sleeping well." He stepped closer to Myra. "If you hadn't lied, would my son have died? I worked so hard with Medusa for 5 years through IVF to have this son, and you've killed him. How dare you even live? I think you've had enough." The more he spoke, the angrier he got, and he couldn't help but push my mother. Myra fell backward from the 7th floor. "Myra," Enoch rushed to the balcony, but his hands only grasped air. Dante looked at Myra lying on the concrete floor and said only one thing, "That's fate. A life for a life. That's your goddamn fate." Enoch slapped Dante hard across the face and snarled, "How did we ever raise a monster like you? You can have another grandchild, but once your mother's gone, she's gone for good." Dante wasn't like me. He'd never been harshly spoken to by our parents, let alone hit. This slap made him furious, and he grabbed Enoch by the collar. "Yes, I'm a little beast, and you're an old beast. You killed your own grandson, and you still have the nerve to lecture your son here. If you really loved my mother so much, you wouldn't have been out whoring around. Now you're pretending to be a good husband. If you truly loved my mother, you should jump down and join her in death." Dante is big and tall when he gets angry. He often forgets everything. As he shoved Enoch again and again, he completely forgot that Enoch had just been nearly killed by Medusa's attack, so by the time Dante realized he had pushed his own father to the edge of the balcony, it was too late. Enoch plummeted straight down. A cry rose from below. "Another one's dead. Officer, you've arrived just in time. The murderer is downstairs. The bastard even killed his own parents. What a beast. Go arrest him right now." Dante finally panicked when he Saw a group of police officers coming upstairs, but he still comforted Medusa. Honey, I shouldn't have slapped you. You suffered the most giving birth to our son. You're more heartbroken about Jude's death than anyone. If I end up in jail, you should find someone else to marry. Medusa hugged Dante tightly. Dante, I'm so sorry. Dante embraced Medusa. My parents killed our son. They deserved it. Consider this my punishment for them on behalf of our son. No sooner had the words left his mouth then the police burst in and arrested Dante. A few minutes later, my phone rang. Is this Althea? This is the police station. After this call, I saw my parents for the first time since my rebirth, though it was in the hospital. Emma's son, we are deeply sorry for what happened to your parents, and your brother Dante has been arrested and is awaiting trial. What about Medusa? Her mental state is not very stable, so we have arranged for the Women's Federation to provide her with psychological counseling. After giving their instructions, the police said they were leaving first. I was left alone in the hospital room, looking at my parents, who were covered in wounds. They were lucky, though. They actually survived. Later, Myra was the first to wake up. Seeing me, she opened her mouth and said, I'm thirsty. Althea, didn't you hear your mother say she's thirsty? Enoch also woke up, accusing me with a hoarse voice, his mouth wide open. What a beast I've raised. But I didn't move. He thought I would stay silent as before, continuing to play the fool as a dutiful daughter. Unexpectedly, I picked up a pot of boiling water and poured it directly into his mouth. That's right, you call my brother a beast, and you call me a beast. It seems you're the real old beast here. Your own daughter was killed by your nephew, and your first instinct wasn't to grieve for her or seek justice. No, you dragged me straight to the crematorium. That's the kind of thing a vile old beast like you would do. And what has this little beast you're always cursing ever done for you? Right, this little beast donated a kidney for you, paid all your medical bills, bought you and mom a house, and took care of you full-time for 3 years, and you never stopped saying a married daughter is like spilled water. I paid for my own university tuition, I paid for my own graduate degree, and the moment I graduated, you started hounding me for money. I was a fool, brainwashed and held hostage by your twisted idea of filial piety. This life, seeing you pushed down the stairs by your own son, it's just so satisfying. Too bad you're so lucky you didn't die. But without anyone to take care of you, you should be meeting the king of hell soon enough, right? My dad Enoch widened his eyes. You little brat, what are you talking about? We raised you. Is that a mistake? Only my mom Myra trembled all over. She raised her finger shakily and pointed at me, saying, You, I remember now. Althea, you're reborn, aren't you? I glanced at my mom and smiled. Looks like, Mom, you have memories of your past life, don't you? So, what do you remember? My mother started coughing violently. Althea, you are the one who caused all this. The Sun family's downfall is all part of your scheme. My father Enoch widened his eyes. Rebirth, dear, what are you talking about? My mother continued coughing. Enoch, we've been ruined by this wicked girl. She's reborn. In her previous life, she clearly saved Jude. Jude was fine, just with a slight limp from a sprained right leg, and we didn't blame her for that. It's just that later, Jude didn't manage to win the school beauty's heart, so he got angry with Althea, tipped Dante and Medusa to settle accounts with her, and accidentally pushed her down the stairs. I sneered. Even if pushing me down the stairs was an accident, what about beating my legs with a wooden club after I fell? Was that an accident too? My father, Enoch, suddenly began coughing violently, his body trembling. I remember now. Althea, it was you who altered the course of events in this life, causing Jude to fall to his death and leading to us being pushed down the stairs by our own son. This is all your fault. Why didn't you save Jude in this lifetime? In the last life, you were already dead and gone. Were we supposed to just stand by and watch our grandson go to prison and die too? We're your parents. Couldn't you have thought of us and your brother for once? I burst into harsh laughter. Think of you. Like hell I will. I wish you were dead. Oh, and by the way, it doesn't matter that you're awake now. The doctor said the nerves in your spines are completely necrotic. You can't move anything but your heads. The only reason I'm here is because the police called. Had to put on a show. Don't expect me to come back. I can't stand the sight of you. Oh, and your precious grandson, Jude. I laughed even more wildly. He's not even your real grandson. He's the product of Medusa and her lover. You've been raising someone else's child as your own for 3 years, and in the end, you were pushed off a building by your own son because of that child. This is the retribution for the sins you committed in your previous life. Now that Dante's been arrested, I know you won't want to press charges against him, but once you're gone, as your daughter, I have every right to sue. I want him to die with you. Enoch angrily pointed at me. You dare touch him? He's the only heir left in the Enoch family. Then he started gasping for breath. When Myra heard that the grandson she had raised from infancy wasn't her own, she spat a mouthful of blood onto the hospital's pristine wall. Althea, you're inhuman. You just want to see us die of anger, don't you? Output only translation, matching, content_type, format, I said viciously. It's not me who'll kill you with anger. It's Medusa, you know. It was her who had a child with her lover. It was her who cheated, and it was her who gave your son a green hat. If you become ghosts, remember to go find her, okay? Once you find her, don't come looking for me, alright? With that, both life monitors in the ward emitted sharp alarms. The doctors and nurses rushed in, and after a series of actions, they said to me, "Madam, please accept your loss." I squeezed out a couple of tears, but I'm not mourning at all. I'd rather be banging drums and clashing cymbals. However, there's still one step left before the finale, and the Medusa who killed me is still at large. Just using my parents' death as an excuse, I had a reason to visit Dante. I went with tears in my eyes, and when Dante saw me, he said, "I killed our parents myself. You can hit me or curse me all you want, but can you promise me to take care of Medusa? You know she's the one I've loved the most in my life. I want her to be happy." I sneered. "You want her to be happy, but do you know your son isn't even your biological child?" Before Dante could react, I slammed the photos of Medusa and her childhood friend in various compromising positions right in front of him. "For a woman who cheated on you and a bastard child, you actually killed your own parents. Dante, you're a complete idiot." After saying that, I stood up and sneered. "Do you know what your beloved wife was doing while you were suffering in jail?" Dante looked up at me, and I let out a cold laugh. "She was sleeping in the arms of your arch nemesis, planning to have another child. And what about you? The rest of your life will be spent in prison. By the time you get out, Medusa's second child will probably be old enough to buy soy sauce. Are you really willing to watch the woman you love enjoy herself under another man?" With that, I walked away, unexpectedly. The plan was realized even faster than I had imagined. The next time I saw Medusa, it was in the hospital. Her carotid artery was slashed by Dante with a blade. The scene was reportedly extremely gruesome. "Miss Althea, we don't want to trouble you, but we found out your sister-in-law is an orphan. Both your parents are deceased according to her emergency contacts, and her husband is the murderer, so we could only reach out to you to sign for her. Whether to spend money on resuscitation or continue treatment, it's up to you, ma'am." After saying that, the staff left, leave me and Medusa in the hospital room. The ventilator was fogged up by Medusa's labored breathing, and she looked at me half-consciously. I removed her ventilator, and Medusa opened her mouth. "Why didn't you save my son?" I looked into her accusing eyes and knew she had also been reborn. "If you had saved Jude, none of this would have happened. My son would have grown up safe. Dante would never have known about my affair." "Althea, why didn't you save my son?" Her breathing was agonizingly labored, on the very brink of stopping. "Oh no, you don't. I haven't finished saying what I need to say, so." I quickly put an oxygen mask on her, then, leaning close to her ear, he whispered, "I didn't save your son because, in our past life, you were the one who killed me, so in this life, I have only one goal. Everyone who caused my death must join me in the grave. Your life is now in my hands. I know you still want to live. After all, your old flame is still out there. You loved him so much, but you married my brother because he was too poor. Now that my brother is dead and your son is gone, you're just dreaming of running back to your lover and having his children, aren't you? Too bad, there's no hope for you, because I will sign the DNR order on your surgical consent form. Medusa, it's time for you to go underground and reunite with my parents. I'm sure they'll be thrilled to see you." With a sinister grin, I walked out of the hospital room. The words refusal of treatment on the consent form had sealed Medusa's fate for good. Soon after, Medusa met her end. As I walked down the hospital corridor, feeling a weight lifted, Jude's frail spirit appeared. He asked me plaintively, "Auntie, why didn't you save me? In our past life, you rushed over and held me. You saved me. So why, in this life, did you just stand by and do nothing? Did I do something wrong? Auntie, whatever I did wrong in our past life, could you please find it in your heart to forgive me in this one? Auntie, I'm only a 3-year-old child." Jude blinked his childlike eyes, thinking I'd fall for it. I merely smiled. "Jude, I know that begging for forgiveness with your soul can grant you rebirth, so rest assured, I will absolutely never forgive you. I saved you, and you killed me. You belong in hell." As soon as the words were spoken, Jude's eyes darkened. He let out a piercing scream of agony, his entire body dissolving into a plume of black smoke before vanishing without a trace. I had known the greatest secret of rebirth since the moment I was reborn. After vengeance is complete, you must never forgive the dead soul, otherwise, the deceased will get a chance to be reborn after being forgiven. I'm not that foolish to waste my hard-earned second life fighting with the reborn. Letting them vanish is the best outcome. I will claim the demolition house left by my parents, take the 3 million demolition compensation, leave the city, and head towards my own bright future. That was the wonderful life I didn't get to enjoy in my previous lifetime. This lifetime, I'm going to savor it to the fullest. The end. Story 2. In my past life, the fake heiress spread rumors that I hired people to humiliate her. Not only did this get me disowned by my parents, but her vengeful boyfriend also abandoned me in a remote area where I was mauled to death by a Tibetan brown bear. After being reborn, I bound myself to the rumor backfire system. Now whenever Lily lies about me bullying her, every bit of that suffering will be inflicted upon her instead. At first, she only broke her leg. Later, she tearfully told her parents. Vera got a group of people to drag me into an alley and strip me naked. In a fit of rage, my parents kicked me out of the house. As I left, I gave her a knowing smile. Once the words were spoken, not even divine intervention could save her. Just like in our previous life, Lily falsely accused me of pushing her. Mom Violet wrapped her arms around the girl and slapped me hard across the face. Kids raised in poverty-stricken homes are just born wicked. Trying to hurt Lily on your very first day back, I say we send her back to the countryside, find her a match, and tie her down there for life. As I watched my mother turn against me, the sense of dependence I held for her began fading like pencil marks under an eraser. Everyone says my mother Violet is the most kind-hearted philanthropist in our city. Not only does she donate large sums to the orphanage every year, but she also treats the orphans with the same affection as her own children. But they have no idea, when I was 8, Violet complained that my hands, roughened by daily farm work, weren't as soft and smooth as Lily's. They heartlessly refused to acknowledge me as their own. It wasn't until after the college entrance exams, when the media announced I was the top-scoring prodigy, Violet only acknowledged me as her daughter out of a desire to flaunt a top-scoring child and humiliate the high society women who looked down on her, offering me recognition like it was some kind of charity. Clutching the cut on my face from where the ring had scratched me, I looked at my father, his face full of disdain. Harlan nodded in tacit agreement. Had I known she was so morally bankrupt and would harm our precious daughter, I should have left her to rot in the countryside forever. With just a couple of sentences, they had already judged my character. They wouldn't listen to my explanation, blindly believing Lily instead. I let out a cold laugh and turned my gaze to the pretty girl hiding in Violet's arms, her face full of defiance. She was waiting for me to argue back. The moment I deny it, my parents will despise me even more. But Lily didn't know every false accusation she made would eventually come true. This time, I slapped myself hard across the face and apologized to Lily. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I was the one who pushed Lily. Lily couldn't believe I'd take the fall for this. My brother Bastian was so furious he threatened to break my legs for hurting his precious sister. Mom, Dad, you heard that bitch Vera admit she hurt Lily. Get her out of this house right now. I explained weakly. The doctor said I've been malnourished for years, and my legs get weak when I walk. That's why I accidentally pushed my sister. It really wasn't on purpose. To make it up to her, I'll give my spot for the opening ceremony speech to Lily. In my past life, Lily held a grudge against me because my speech stole her thunder. So in this life, now that Lily got what she wanted, she let it go. Just then, I heard a mechanical sound by my ear. Ding. The rumor backlash system has been automatically activated. Lily went downstairs for a drink in the middle of the night and accidentally fell down the stairs. Her parents rushed her to the hospital that very night. The next morning, Harlan ordered me to go to the hospital to take care of Lily. Seeing her swollen, tear-filled eyes, I learned the doctor had declared she'd suffer lasting effects from the illness. Lily's lifelong dream of becoming a dancer was shattered. Leaning against the doorframe, I watched as Lily threatened to kill herself in a fit of hysteria. Everyone tried to calm Lily down, but ended up getting scratched bloody by her nails. I let out a soft chuckle. This is just the appetizer. The real show is yet to come. On the first day of school, Lily, with her broken leg, was in a foul mood and refused to let my family take me to school. She leaned against her mother, her face full of hurt. Sis, you're not upset with Mom and Dad for giving me the car just because they worry about me, are you? The family lived in the Western Hills Villa complex. This was an affluent neighborhood where taxis weren't allowed to enter. To get to school, I had to drag a suitcase weighing dozens of pounds and walk step by step for 10 kilometers to the subway station at the foot of the mountain. To make matters worse, it had been raining heavily recently. Given my frail health, walking 10 kilometers in the rain would have drained the life out of me. Yet, the whole family only had eyes for Lily. Bastian rolled his eyes. Didn't she always play the victim, saying she had to walk 10 kilometers of mountain roads to school every day? If she's so tough, let her keep walking. Violet kindly tossed me an umbrella. Vera, you're not going to hold it against me, are you? Lily knew you weren't cut out for the spotlight, which is why she stepped in to give the freshman speech for you. Don't be ungrateful and resent us for it. I shook my head and hugged the umbrella close to my chest. Don't worry about it, Mom and Dad. You should take my sister to school. After all, with her leg being useless now, she needs extra care. I watched as the car window slowly rolled up, sealing Lily's venomous glare inside the vehicle. Then I pulled out my phone and dialed the president of S University. Uncle Principal, my parents are both taking my sister to school. Could you come pick me up? Half an hour later, a black Bentley pulled up at the family's gate. I hadn't gone more than a few steps with my umbrella. Principal Gregory kicked his son out of the car. Show some initiative and helped Vera load her things into the trunk. I looked with some surprise at the young man who, just 3 years ago, had obediently called me big sister. Now he had grown into a handsome college student, sporting an edgy wolf-cut hairstyle, his fair earlobes adorned with black diamond earrings that matched mine. I touched my own earring. It was when I left Sean's place, a farewell gift from Sean 3 years ago. My outstanding academic performance caught Gregory's attention. He covered all my tuition and miscellaneous expenses throughout high school. He even brought me to Sean's house so I could join his son in competing at an international math competition. Sean was a year younger than me. The boy was a step behind his peers in physical development. Back then, I mistook Sean for an elementary school student, leading to quite a few amusing misunderstandings. After arriving at school, my uncle needed to go to the auditorium. That same night, he specifically arranged for Sean to help me as a caretaker, assisting with packing up my things in the dorm. We all went to the cafeteria to eat together. Coincidentally, we overheard the romantic story of Lily being publicly confessed to by the young master of the Hugo family. One is a goddess-like dancer, the other is the heir to the Hugo family empire. This is straight out of a romance novel. I heard that the moment Lily stepped off the stage, Hugo swept her into his arms and carried her to his luxury car, saying he couldn't bear to see her dancer's legs wasted on walking. Just hearing the name Hugo, the man who'd thrown me to the Tibetan mastiffs to be torn apart, made my body tremble uncontrollably. Sean shoved a cup of bubble tea into my hands. The warmth of touch effectively eased the pain in my heart. In my past life, I caught the attention of the Hugo family's young master after giving a speech on behalf of the freshmen. My parents forced me to get involved with Hugo in an attempt to forge ties with the Hugo family. Hugo suffers from severe psychological issues. During his episodes, he dragged me to his underground beast pit to watch animals tear each other apart. He even threatened that anyone I interacted with would be thrown into the beast pit. That's why in my past life, I pretended not to know Sean to protect him. I looked up and met the beautiful youth's concerned gaze. The heaviness in my heart was slowly carved away. Thank God I managed to ditch that creep Hugo for good. School had been in session for less than a week. Lily, who'd been completely wrapped up in her romance, finally remembered I existed too. They want to invite me to join their gathering of wealthy socialites. I rubbed my hands nervously and said, since you don't mind having me around, I'd be happy to join you. In my past life, Hugo threw a welcome party for me as a new student. Jealous that Hugo had taken a liking to me, Lily tampered with my dress during a struggle. It tore and exposed a lot of skin, and she tried to seduce Hugo with a pitiful look. She said to Hugo, my sister must have tampered with my dress because she was afraid I'd steal her spotlight. Hugo swept Lily up into his arms and strode off in front of everyone. In an instant, I became the laughingstock of our social circle. I've done nothing wrong, yet they all call me a vicious hillbilly. Even just walking through school, people would trip me. When I pass by the academic building, someone upstairs deliberately spits on me. If my water cup is out of sight for even a second, it ends up with dismembered cockroaches and mice in it. I don't want to live that kind of life anymore, not one bit. Before I knew it, the weekend arrived. I walked into the banquet hall wearing my usual white t-shirt and jeans. At the banquet, everyone was dressed like princes and princesses from a fairy tale. My style was completely out of place with theirs. Everyone was looking at me with mocking and inquisitive stares. Security, where's security? Some country bumpkin wandered into the wrong place. Moments later, the lobby manager rushed over, grabbed my arm, and tried to drag me away. How dare some blind fool show up here? If you so much as stain their formal wear, your worthless life wouldn't begin to cover the cost. I frowned, staring at the reddened skin where I'd been grabbed. I'm Lily's guest, her elder sister, the eldest daughter of this family. Hearing the commotion, Lily approached with Hugo's arm linked in hers. The moment I laid eyes on Hugo, my blood ran cold and every breath felt like blades slicing through my skin. The searing pain of being mauled by wild beasts resurfaced. Seeing me stare intently at Hugo, Lily felt a flicker of resentment stir within her. Sis, did you dress like that just to get attention? As she spoke, her almond-shaped eyes grew red and teary. Hugo's heart ached with even more tenderness for her. Seeing how beautiful Lily is, I thought her sister couldn't be far behind, but I never expected. You two are worlds apart. Hearing him belittle me, Lily leaned contentedly against his broad chest. I let out a sigh of relief too. Lily took a glass of red wine from the waiter's tray and made as if to hand it to me. Sis, Hugo just can't help being honest. Please don't hold it against him. The next moment, the red wine splashed all over the $1,000,000 gown. Lily's eyes were red-rimmed as she accused me. I was just trying to help you out, and you go and spill your drink all over me. Hugo's expression darkened as well. I'd gone and stained the doll he'd taken such care to dress up. No, I didn't. Check the security footage if you don't believe me. My Hands never even moved. Lily cried out in distress. Are you suggesting I'd spill wine on myself just to frame you? The commotion drew everyone over, and they all started pointing fingers at me. See, I told you, people from broken homes have such a twisted mindset. They're nothing like girls who were raised with love and care. Exactly. Look at her pathetic attitude, acting like the whole world owes her something. I strongly disagree with their conclusion. Judging someone's character isn't about whether they come from wealth or poverty, nor is it about their family background. Lily grew up surrounded by love, yet that didn't stop her from becoming a malicious person. Despite my humble family circumstances, I made my way from a remote mountain village to a prestigious university entirely through my own efforts. How dare these wealthy people use the poor as foils to highlight their riches, then trample on them to parade their moral superiority. I tightened my grip on my collar, where a hidden micro-camera could instantly clear my name if I chose, but clearly, they couldn't care less about the truth. Hugo pulled out his phone from his coat pocket and made a call. Uncle Zhang, have you fed the little ones at home? He turned to look at me, his eyes brimming with malice. If they're still hungry, I'll bring them some treats when I get home. 3. My face instantly turned deathly pale upon hearing this. Lily asked curiously, Big brother, do you still keep little pets at home? Those were clearly a pack of vicious beasts. Hugo wouldn't let me off and had his men take me to the back, saying he'd bring me back to feed his little ones their midnight snack. Fortunately, Sean received my distress signal and arrived just in time. Hugo knew him. You're interested in a woman like that. That's an acquired taste. Sean didn't argue back, just gave him a long, hard look. She was my father's most prized student, even selected as a national key talent for state support. If anything happens to her, I doubt even your father could bail you out. Hugo hated nothing more than people implying he relied on his father's influence. Furious and humiliated, he slammed his glass down hard on the table. Lily stumbled backward in terror, accidentally bumping into the wall of wine glasses behind her. In an instant, hundreds of glasses came crashing down on her. She lost her footing and fell to the ground. Her white gown stained crimson. My face hurt so much. Hugo forcefully turned her face toward him and recoiled at the sight of the gruesome scar. Just then, a system notification chimed in my ear. Beep. The rumor backlash system has activated for the second time. Once the host has taken the blame 6 times, a system reward will be triggered, granting access to technological advancements unknown in your world. By Monday, everyone at S University had heard about Lily's disfigurement. No one noticed my little mishap at the banquet. Many were speculating about the ambiguous attitude of Hugo family's heir toward Lily. Whether it was a decisive rejection or exclusive romantic favor remained unclear. While Lily was abroad receiving treatment for her scars, I finally had time to focus on my studies, burying myself in the lab with Sean to crack the exclusive foreign chip technology. Professor Gregory and I worked around the clock, catching only 3 hours of sleep a day. A month later, we emerged from the lab looking completely disheveled, but Professor Gregory was as thrilled as a young man, eager to report this breakthrough to the nation. Vera, we couldn't have achieved this breakthrough without your invaluable contributions. I'm recommending you for the Medal of Honor. Before I could even react, I collapsed from exhaustion right into Sean's arms. By the time I came to, it was already the next morning. I was still hooked up to Infor when Violet called, demanding I come home immediately. Your sister's going through this huge crisis, and you're out there living it up for a whole month like nothing's wrong. Vera, if you don't want me as your mother anymore, then just go die out there. Hearing my mother's words, all the joy I felt about soon receiving the Medal of Honor was instantly washed away. I weakly explained, that's not it. Mom, I'm in the hospital too. No matter what you're doing at the hospital, you need to get home right now and apologize to Lily. I swallowed the rest of my words and asked the nurse to remove my for. The nurse, aware of my condition, couldn't help scolding me. Look how weak you've become, and you still refuse to stay in the hospital, because I had a feeling Lily was setting another trap for me. If I don't go home, how can I let Lily unleash her inner manipulator and set a trap for me? If she doesn't set a trap for me, how am I supposed to complete the system mission? When I got home, the living room that was once filled with laughter and chatter instantly fell silent. Violet had a stern look on her face, as if pressuring me to go over and apologize. My head was spinning, but I forced myself to keep it together until I got home. Lily, holding a grudge against me, threw herself into Violet's arms and burst into tears. Mom, my sister must really hate me. That's why she deliberately sabotaged me, making me look foolish at the party and even scarring my face. It was then that I noticed the faint scar still visible on Lily's face. I was about to retort when a vase came flying straight at me. The impact sent me stumbling to my knees, head spinning and vision blurring. Crimson blood trickled from my temple into my eye. Everything before me was tinted with a red haze, for Bastion has a fiery temper. Throwing a vase was just the tip of the iceberg. He stomped on the back of my hand. You wretch, if you had kept a closer eye on Lily at the party, would she have gotten hurt? I couldn't make sense of it, let alone understand. In my past life, I once suspected I wasn't my parents' biological child, so I secretly collected strands of their hair for a DNA test, but the results were unexpected. I truly was their child. Still, there's always a difference between one child and another. Lily was the child they chose, while I was the one forced upon this family. I lay weakly on the ground, struggling to defend myself. I didn't do it. None of this has anything to do with me. I have video proof. It's right here in my pocket. The family elders turned a blind eye to Bastion's brutality. Refusing to even look at the video evidence, Lily dabbed her tears with a tissue. Even if you don't love me, sister, how could you betray me like this? She touched her face and sighed. My parents are just too much. The doctor said that with one more round of treatment, the scar on my face would completely disappear. They insist that I've suffered some great injustice and feel they must seek justice for me. Suddenly, for the third time, the system notification sounded in my ear. Beep. Host has completed the rumor backlash mission for the third time. I looked up and glared daggers at Lily. This time, she falsely accused me of causing her humiliation and disfigurement. That scar on her face will never fade, no matter what. Bastion smashed my phone to pieces. He locked me in the basement. Violet let out a sigh before closing the door. Vera, don't blame me. Your mind has grown too dark. For Lily's sake, and for your own future, we must teach you properly. Dragging my numb hands, I made one last plea. I never hurt Lily. I still need to attend the awards ceremony. I can't stay in the basement. Bastion sneered. So you're just a bookworm who gets good grades. What real achievements could someone like you ever have? There's not a single thing about you that measures up to Lily. Fine then, Vera, stay here with your own kind. The rats and cockroaches. The heavy basement door slowly swung shut. I lay sprawled on the cold, damp ground, listening to the skittering of insects as weakness and agony washed over me. I had no idea how much time had passed. The basement door creaked open again, and a beam of white light fell upon me. Struggling to open my eyes, I could only make out a tall, slender figure rushing toward me. Vera, wake up. As I was being taken to the hospital, I faintly heard Sean murmuring by my ear, Lily found out you were going to be honored, so she deliberately had your family lock you up. If you don't wake up soon, Lily will take your place at the awards ceremony. All your hard-earned reputation and the grueling months spent in the lab, now someone else is going to reap the rewards. His words actually hit home. I was so furious my eyes snapped open. Sean was completely stunned. He laughed through his tears. You fool, hatred really does run deeper than love. Half an hour later, we were the first to arrive at the hospital. I had the nurse hook me up to an 4-drip for nutrients, then took a cab to the school. In the auditorium, all the teachers and students watched as Lily, dressed to the nines, stood at the podium. As long as Lily accepts the award, even if I make a scene about the proxy acceptance later, the higher-ups will sweep it under the rug to save face. Gregory anxiously looked toward the auditorium entrance. He had originally objected to Lily accepting the award on his behalf. However, Hugo's family was putting a lot of pressure on him. Hugo mocked him. He said, as long as I can stand in the auditorium, there's no need for Lily to come and collect it. Hugo sat with a group of leaders, his gaze towards Lily filled with unconcealed admiration. This was his most perfect masterpiece. It's just a shame the masterpiece had a slight flaw. Lily felt Hugo's gaze and uncomfortably touched her cheek. For some reason, the scar that should have healed properly never seemed to fade. Even the doctor said there's still a risk of hyperplasia. Time was slipping away minute by minute. The auditorium doors remained completely still. The supervisor pressed Gregory to present the Medal of Honor. Gregory cast one last glance at the door and let out a helpless sigh. Perhaps this is just fate. Just then, Sean and I appeared in the auditorium. Everyone turned to look at us in perfect unison. On the podium, Lily's face turned deathly pale. I lifted my chin toward her. What isn't yours? You can't take. Sean helped me onto the platform, holding a bottle of medicine in one hand while supporting me with the other. Harlan shot to his feet. Vera, I've tolerated you bullying your sister, but why must you cause trouble at such an important moment? Violet spoke to me gently. Vera, it's Mother's fault for neglecting your upbringing and letting you develop such an unruly temperament. Behave yourself and don't interrupt your sister's recognition ceremony. Bastion even threatened me. I'm surprised even the basement couldn't hold you. Vera, you're quite resourceful. Where should I hide you next time? The audience immediately erupted in a chorus of differing opinions. Someone remarked, Vera totally gives off that vicious supporting female character vibe, always bullying our sweet and beautiful Lily. Come to think of it, Hugo is just like the male lead in a novel. He'd definitely protect our dear Lily. Another person added, isn't that Sean? The principal's son has been involved in this project the whole time. I remember Lily was abroad last month because of that injury on her face. Right, wait. So Lily is taking credit for Vera's work. What kind of female protagonist is that? That's just disgusting. Lily had never faced such collective criticism before. casting a helpless glance toward Hugo. Hugo was growing visibly irritated as well. Little did he know I'd repeatedly thwarted his plans. Picking up the microphone, I challenged Lily. You claim involvement in this project. Sister, can you produce your lab attendance records from last month? Lily's eyes welled up with tears. You know perfectly well someone destroyed the lab's logbook. Sister, did you really have to take it this far? Sean and Gregory nodded at me. I furrowed my brow. Never. Expecting Hugo would go to such lengths for Lily, he actually destroyed the laboratory's visitor log. To make matters worse, Hugo destroyed the surveillance footage. Lily mouthed words to me with her back to the audience. Sis, what can you do? It's not like you can prove you're the developer of this technology, right? I was grinding my molars in frustration. No, I can prove I developed it. Someone was already getting impatient, urging me to present evidence quickly. Enough with the empty talk. There are so many important people here, they didn't come to listen to your nonsense. Exactly. Do you think this is some kind of game? Can you provide any solid evidence? Amidst the jeers and insults from the crowd, I tightened my grip on the microphone. I then proceeded to explain the technical jargon related to this technology. The industry experts in the audience immediately grasped what I was talking about. Only Lily stared back at me with wide, bewildered almond eyes, looking utterly lost. Like a clueless young girl, soon enough, those big shots had made up their minds. Hugo never expected I'd commit those complex concepts to memory. Gregory and Sean can vouch for that. I just didn't want them to cross the Hugo family. Hugo was deeply disappointed in Lily, never expecting her to be just a useless pretty face. After Hugo stormed off in anger, seeing no way to gracefully exit the situation, Lily simply feigned fainting. I couldn't be bothered to expose her act, after having her carried away. I accepted the accolades from industry leaders at the awards ceremony in my honor. Suddenly, I was startled to hear the system notification chime in my ear. Beep. Host has completed the rumor backlash task for the 4th time. 2 attempts remaining until completion. Keep up the good work. Host. I glanced at my finger, which was crushed into a bloody pulp. I used the 3rd reward to fully restore my fingers. After the awards ceremony, my name was published in the newspaper. This was an honor I could never have achieved in my previous life. The school forum was buzzing all afternoon. Lily has some nerve. I never expected her to pull an identity theft stunt. Now it seems her claims about Vera constantly bullying her aren't credible either. Am I the only one who's completely changed my view of Vera? She keeps striving upward, and even with her whole family and the world against her, she still lives well and stays true to herself, too ashamed to show her face. Lily has been having her parents request sick leave for her. Unfortunately, the school doesn't allow indefinite sick leave. If I didn't show up soon, they'd expel me. Lily forced herself to go to school, only to discover that Hugo already had a new lover, and it turned out to be the dance club vice president she'd always looked down on. Lily stormed over to confront the other person, but someone stopped her in her tracks. Lily, right. The advisor wants to see you in their office. Lily was completely baffled, wondering why the advisor had summoned her. It wasn't until the advisor slammed a stack of evidence in front of her Lily realized she was in deep trouble. As it turned out, she had paid to pull strings and usurp someone else's college entrance exam scores and thesis. In her previous life, she had kept it all under wraps. The victim went through life believing they failed college due to their own incompetence. In this lifetime, I'm using the rumor backlash system. Let that small-town exam warrior who was replaced finally bask in the glow of justice. This whole fiasco not only got Lily expelled but also had her student record revoked. After returning home, Lily shut herself in her bedroom the whole time. This broke Violet's heart. Why did that person have to report our Lily? Even without Lily, someone else would have taken his university spot. Bastian, the overprotective brother, was so furious he wanted to confront the person, but Harlan slapped him hard across the face. This is our fault. If you want to bring the company down, go ahead and make trouble. Bastian's eyes turned bloodshot. But I can't just stand by and watch Lily get treated unfairly. Harlan took a drag from his cigarette gloomily. Don't worry, we still have Vera on our side. I had planned to move my things out of the family home like a ghost, slipping away unnoticed, but Harlan caught me in the act. Violet hugged me with red-rimmed eyes and pleaded, Vera, you can't just abandon your sister. 5. It was the first time my mother had ever held me. I never expected things to turn out this way. I gently pushed her away and said, Madam, if I recall correctly, you never transferred my household registration back, did you? Violet was stunned, looking at them. I enunciated each word clearly. Back then, you wanted to maintain Lily as your only legally recognized daughter. You only brought me back to the family but never changed my household registration, so I have no connection whatsoever with your family, and I have zero reason to help that backstabbing bitch who screwed me over multiple times. Bastian was so furious when he heard me cursing Lily that he tried to hit me. I immediately pulled out my collapsible steel baton and held it defensively in front of me. Bastian, I'm not that defenseless child you could push around anymore. Bastian let out a bitter laugh. What, you actually think you can take me on? Go ahead, hit me right here. With that, He started closing in on me. I swung my club at him without hesitation, settling the score for when he crushed my finger bones. Bastion crashed to the ground with a heavy thud. The family elders were taken aback. Violet accused me of harming my own brother. Vera, are you even human? You wouldn't help Lily. She's not related to you by blood, but Bastion is your own flesh and blood. I lifted my hands, which were tightly wrapped in bandages. Oh, so my own brother beat me to this sorry state. All for her sister who isn't even related by blood, Violet snapped furiously. And whose fault is that? If you'd just behaved and been nicer to Lily, would any of this have happened? I furrowed my brow and snapped. Are you even capable of understanding human speech? Violet froze in place. She never expected I'd actually confront her like that. I let out a weary sigh. Then again, I shouldn't be surprised. Anyone who'd abandon their own daughter to spoil an adopted child has worse judgment than a bag of rocks. Back then, you said Lily was the child you chose. Well, I was the one you were forced to have. Now, I'm giving it all back to you, exactly as I received it. You, Violet and Harlan, are not the parents I would have chosen, and from now on, you mean nothing to me. After throwing out these words, I walked away with my heavy luggage in tow. After I left, I suddenly heard the system notification sound beep. Congratulations, host, on completing the 5th rumor backlash mission. Just one more to go. Keep pushing through. I leaned back in my chair with a sigh, never expecting things to come to this. Lily just wouldn't let it go, stubbornly determined to frame me. Anyway, I've already left the family behind. Even if she tries to pin this on me, I can still achieve my goal without any setbacks. But what happened next made me realize I had still underestimated Lily's shamelessness. She went live online, accusing me of hurling insults at our parents and brutally assaulting my own brother. Sis, I know you don't like me and feel I stole 19 years of your life. I shook my head. She traced the pale scar on her face with her fingers, then offered the camera a fractured smile. But Mom and Dad and your brother love you so much. You're bound by blood. You're real family. Come back home, sis. She forced out a few tears, her sobs coming in ragged bursts. For their sake, I could refrain from exposing your crimes to the outside world. I won't tell them how you, jealous of my relationship with Hugo, deliberately hired a group of thugs to drag me into an alley and strip me naked. After speaking, she sought to substantiate her claims. She deliberately removed her coat, revealing the suggestive marks on her body. They even posted the surveillance footage of me confronting Violet and brutally beating Bastion online. The incident spread like wildfire. Netizens often let their emotions override their judgment. Unfamiliar with Lily's true character and confronted with what appeared to be solid evidence, netizens flooded University's official social media account with critical comments. In less than a day, they demanded the school expel me, calling me an immoral person. I can't imagine how much of a threat a highly intelligent person without morals could pose to society once they master more technology. She even dares to curse her own parents. Aren't your school's teachers afraid she might hit them? Is this still the new era? How can such a malicious woman be allowed to study at an institution of higher learning? We won't stop calling for Vera's expulsion until the university fires her. Sean burst into my rental apartment in a panic after seeing the online comments. He found me humming a tune while casually preparing a bowl of instant noodles for him. He breathed a sigh of relief and said, I was worried you might do something drastic. I shrugged. It's not like I'm the one who did anything wrong. Why should I be the one beating myself up over it? Just wait. Lily will get what's coming to her for those things she said. Sean held the steaming cup of instant noodles, looking at me with those big, shiny puppy dog eyes. I knew you could do it, Vera. I just knew it. I felt a bit self-conscious under his gaze. I took out my tablet and went online to contact someone. The situation escalated quickly, and Sean told Gregory, who wasn't online, about it. Gregory issued instructions to the faculty advisors, teachers, and students of each department. Before I could even begin to explain, students of this institution are prohibited from spreading rumors. Anyone found making malicious defamatory statements about me online will face disciplinary action. 1 week later, watching the online buzz reach its peak, I tapped my keyboard restlessly, thinking it was time to strike back. At 8 p.m. sharp, Lily started her live stream. While pretending to tell her fans not to send gifts, she spotted someone gifting her a carnival and immediately put on a sugary voice to coo, "Thank you, Big Brother." She glanced at the comments section. Netizens are urging her to keep spilling the tea. Don't be scared, Lily. We've got your back. No matter how powerful Vera's connections are, we won't let her lay a finger on you. Lily was so moved that she shed a tear. Knowing you all have my support means everything. Don't worry. I'm not someone to be trifled with. Next, I'll reveal how Vera obtained her honorary medal by stealing others' achievements through improper relationships. Suddenly, she saw University requesting to connect with her. Lily was taken aback. The internet is blowing up. What's going on? I thought S University was covering for Vera. What if someone is trying to use S University's account to expose Vera's crimes too? Lily also believed what netizens were saying and decided to connect with S University's official account. The moment the live stream started, Lily saw me appear on the other side, and a crack seemed to form in her perfectly made-up face. She thought I'd be hiding away, nursing my wounds in private, never expecting me to confront her so openly. She forced a strained smile and said, "Sis, you finally decided to see me. Mom, Dad, and our brother are all waiting for you to come back and apologize." I rolled my eyes. An apology? That's not entirely off the table. Just let me crush Bastion's finger bones first, and I might consider paying them a visit. My arrogant attitude infuriated the netizens. I've never seen anyone with more nerve than me. Lily was crying, her tears falling like pear blossoms in the rain. "Sis, with all the terrible things you've done, how do you sleep at night?" I rested my chin in my hand and raised an eyebrow. "Afraid of what? But really, you're the one who should be afraid. Haven't you noticed?" Lily looked completely bewildered. I said with a smile, "Haven't you noticed? Every time you spread lies about me, those exact things end up happening to you. On the day I came home, you accused me of pushing you down the stairs. Then that very night, you went downstairs for water and broke your leg. At the welcome dinner, you tried to frame me for spilling red wine on you, but instead you stumbled into the champagne tower, not only drenching yourself but also scarring your face." I watched Lily's expression grow increasingly grim. "6, I continued, "and you told our parents that I was the one who ruined your face. That's why the scars that should have been treatable never healed. You tried to steal my achievements, but got caught paying to take credit for someone else's work. This makes the 4th time." I raised my finger and counted off. "That's the 5th time you've slandered me in front of 1,400,000,000 netizens, claiming I hired a bunch of thugs to assault you." Lily's breathing became ragged, because she knew every time she spread lies about me, those false accusations would inevitably come true. This time she's spreading rumors that I'm the one who took her virginity. Netizens think I'm being all cryptic and weird. What kind of nonsense are you talking about? Those were just coincidences. Plain and simple. Besides, it looks to me like you're trying to threaten Lily. They've probably already hired someone, just waiting to hurt Lily. The Lily's face should have been deathly pale. After reading the netizens' comments, it was as if she had gained strength. She gave me a mocking smile. "Vera, as long as I stay in this room, your words can't come true. I've already called the police. Don't even think about laying a hand on me." I raised an eyebrow helplessly. "Suit yourself. It's not like I'm the one who's going to get hurt anyway." Soon after, Lily heard someone knocking at the door. She deliberately rented an apartment just for her live streams. "See, the police are here. No one can hurt me now." With that, she stood up to answer the door, resting my chin in my hand. I listlessly scrolled through the malicious comments attacking me online. "Vera, why don't you just drop dead? Looking at your face makes me sick. No wonder you're thriving. You're the living embodiment of a vile person tasting success. We're protecting Lily. Don't even think about laying a finger on her." Suddenly, Lily's piercing scream echoed from outside the door. She frantically dashed into the bedroom, desperately trying to lock the door, but the flimsy door was kicked open with a single blow. The men in black masks pinned her down on the bed and assaulted her. "You dress so provocatively every day. It's driving us crazy." Netizens were stunned by what they saw. I held up my phone and said, "Don't pin this on me. I had nothing to do with it. I've already called the police. If I were involved, would I dare to contact the authorities?" That's when everyone finally understood. The backlash from spreading rumors is very real. Just as I said, after intruders broke into Lily's home, she developed severe psychological trauma and was admitted to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. Meanwhile, I've cleared my name and started a new life as an ordinary college student, just as the harrowing memories from my past life were beginning to fade. Hugo, that murderer, showed up at my door. He was leaning against his brand new sports car, idly toying with the keys. He spotted me as I stepped out of the dormitory building. "You came to me under the spotlight, darling. You kept me waiting." I stepped back in surprise. "Hugo, what brings you here?" Hugo threw his arm around my shoulders with easy familiarity, boasting to the onlookers, "Vera is my woman. If any of you dare mess with her, you'll have me to answer to." They immediately averted their eyes in fear. That Vera really has some nerve. She got Lily committed to a mental hospital and stole her boyfriend. Can we really blame it all on Vera? Isn't Lily the one with more issues herself? Fighting back nausea, I removed his hand from my shoulder. "Hugo, I have nothing to do with you, and I never will. Please stay out of my life." Hugo narrowed his eyes slightly and let out a derisive snort while staring at my face. "Spare me the act. You're already used Goods, so quit pretending to be some innocent college girl, Vera. You're so frigid in public. Do they know what a little slut you really are deep down? Last night in my bed, you kept calling me daddy and practically forced me to go 7 rounds, and now you're pretending we're strangers after getting out of bed. I was so appalled by Hugo's shamelessness that my scalp crawled. Suddenly, I heard the system notification sound. Congratulations, host, on completing the 6th rumor backlash. Mission: you will receive scientific research technology that is unattainable in this world. The system voice faded away. A flood of unfamiliar knowledge rushed into my mind. Currently, there are no completely lodging-resistant wheat varieties domestically. Many farmers see half a year's hard work go down the drain when storms strike right before harvest. I aim to develop high-yield wheat that can withstand Category 8 hurricanes, bringing benefits to more ordinary people without even stopping to greet Hugo. I dashed into the lab with my laptop, Sean's research team, and I successfully developed a strain of high wind-resistant wheat. That day, all entertainment content was suspended online, and every media outlet was broadcasting my interview, so no one noticed. A mysterious short video about the heir of the Hugo Group has surfaced online. In the video, the Hugo Group heir is pinned down by 7 muscular men who force him to call them daddy. Story 2: Mom always favored my younger brother, treating me with nothing but scolding and beatings, all because a fortune teller claimed one twin was a lucky star while the other brought misfortune. Being mute, I naturally became the cursed child in my parents' eyes. They raised me with cruelty just to trade me for a bride price to marry off their son. Little did they know, I don't just speak, I wield the power of words. My words shape reality. Every word I utter becomes truth. Those who wronged me shall face the consequences. As a century worshipped Word Spirit, I pleaded with Heavenly Father for ages before being granted mortal form to undergo earthly trials. While in my human mother's womb, I heard her daily prayers begging for a son, so I exhausted my protective magic to transform my twin sister, born under an unlucky star, into a brother. Using my remaining power to suppress her cursed fate, I altered my sister's fate with forbidden magic and incurred divine punishment. Born mute, I couldn't speak until age 5 when my magic began gradually returning. My full magical powers won't awaken until I turn 18. The fortune teller said among twin siblings, one brings blessings while the other bears calamity. The moment my brother was born, he was plump and fair-skinned, crying with remarkable vigor, as if bathed in a golden glow. The midwife declared, "This child is surely a lucky star," as if to prove her right. The skies that had been pouring rain for half a month miraculously cleared. Even a rainbow appeared. Everyone firmly believes my younger brother is a lucky charm. Naturally, I became the jinx by default. Little do they know, the golden aura around him is actually my magic at work. That rainbow was a gift from Father Heaven to me. Without the protection of my magic, my brother would become a true harbinger of doom. Stripped of my powers, I became scrawny and small, like a helpless kitten. This child doesn't cry, probably mute, and a girl at that, just wasting food to keep her. Might as well drown her in the bucket. Father made as if to grab me and toss me into the bucket to drown. Mother stopped him. "Forget it, we'll keep her, it's just an extra mouth to feed. When she's married off, we can get a dowry to help our precious son find a wife." Father thought it made sense, so they decided to keep me. Mother would nurse my brother every day, while I only got to drink the leftover rice water. When my little brother was learning to walk, he fell and cut his head, then pointed at me wailing. Mom was convinced I'd pushed him down on purpose to hurt him. She called me a wicked jinx, born to bring misfortune upon my brother. She took a slender cane and whipped my backside raw. The untreated wound festered within days, giving me a high fever that lasted a full day and night. My mischievous little brother stole Dad's lighter and accidentally set the kitchen firewood ablaze, nearly burning the whole house down. Realizing he'd messed up, he shoved the lighter into my pocket. Mom took up that slender cane again, lashing it across my body stroke after stroke, hitting while hurling insults. "You jinx, money-draining trash. Why didn't you burn to death? Filthy curse, damned mute." That wasn't enough. To teach me a lesson, she used that lighter to set fire to my already thinning hair. The acrid stench of something burning assaulted my nostrils. My scalp burned fiercely as terrified tears streamed down my face, leaving me utterly helpless. Only when blisters had formed on my inflamed scalp did my mother finally pour a ladle of water over my head. After the wound scabbed over, no hair grew back, leaving patchy bald spots scattered across my scalp. My little brother clapped his hands and mocked me, calling me a leper and an ugly freak. Mom shoved me away in disgust, telling this ugly monster to stay far from her precious son and not taint his sight. I felt so wronged, so desperate to cry. How I wished to tell Mom I didn't start the fire. I'm no ugly freak, no cursed jinx. I'm a word weaver. My words shape reality. Whatever I say comes true. When my powers return, I'll make sure they live in prosperity forever, but I can't speak, and there's no way to prove to Mom and Dad that I'm not a curse. When I was 3, my younger brother injured our big yellow dog. That golden retriever was my only friend. He'd wag his tail at me and lick my wounds on freezing winter nights. I'd sneak into his kennel to keep each other warm. Now it lay whimpering on the ground, tears glistening in its eyes. A deep gash ran across its back, bleeding profusely. A horrifying sight. It must be in terrible pain, but like me, it couldn't speak. My younger brother was clamoring for dog meat, and Father stood ready with a knife to slaughter the yellow dog, clutching my dying golden retriever. I knelt before Father, kowtowing desperately to beg him to spare my friend's life, but Father kicked me away, my head smashed against the whetstone, leaving me dizzy and bleeding profusely, struggling to my feet. I clung to Father's leg, sobbing and gesturing frantically for him to return my companion. My younger brother picked up stones from the ground, pelting me while screaming, "Stupid mute, you're ruining my meal, I'll beat you to death." A huge bump swelled up on my forehead. Dad kept praising my little brother, saying, "Great shot, you nailed it." Mom covered my brother's face with kisses, chiming in about how strong he was and what a tough little man he'd become. I watched helplessly as Dad hanged the yellow dog with a rope and skinned it alive. The golden retriever howled in excruciating pain, its tear-filled eyes meeting mine as if realizing death was near. It seemed to be saying goodbye to me. My little brother clapped his hands gleefully, chanting, "Meat, meat." In that moment, I was filled with regret. I shouldn't have exhausted my magic turning my sister into a brother, giving him the chance to do evil. If I still had my protective magic, the big yellow dog wouldn't have died. I've lost my only friend. I gathered the bones they spat out and buried the yellow dog. May it be reborn into better circumstances in its next life. My little brother kept pestering me to play dog for him, so Mom threw my tattered quilt into the doghouse. From then on, I had to sleep in the doghouse and eat dog food. My little brother made me crawl on the ground with my tongue hanging out like a dog. Round and round I went until my hands and knees were scraped raw and bleeding. I turned to Mom for help, but her eyes never even glanced my way. Her loving gaze followed my gleeful brother as she gently reminded him, "Slow down, sweetheart, don't fall." My little brother tossed the gnawed chicken bone in the air, making me jump to catch it. There were still bits of meat left on the bone that he hadn't finished eating. That was the first time I ever tasted meat. The year I turned 5, Dad works as a miner at the colliery beyond the mountains. During New Year's, Mom dressed my younger brother in new clothes and took him to the mine to celebrate with Dad. She thought I was a jinx, a mute who brought bad luck, so she locked me in the pigsty with nothing but a bowl of watery gruel, barely a grain of rice in sight. Shivering from cold, hunger, and fear, I huddled in the corner hugging myself. 3 whole days, just as starvation threatened to claim me, a searing pain shot through my chest. I sensed my brother's magical energy fading as the baleful star's power awakened, soon to claim the life of a blood relative. I jolted awake and, with sudden inexplicable strength, desperately shook the pigpen door. I escaped quickly, clad in thin clothes, running toward the mines through the biting wind, but I was too small, the road too long. I fell, then picked myself up again. My feet were covered in raw blisters mixed with blood, a gruesome sight. I walked the entire day before finally reaching the place where Dad worked. A deafening boom shook the earth, followed by terrified wails piercing the air. The mine had collapsed. Amid the rubble, Mom clutched my little brother, sobbing uncontrollably. The moment she saw me, she rushed over without a word and slapped me so hard I fell to the ground. "You cursed mute. It's all your fault. Why did you have to come? You're the one who killed your father. I should have smothered you the day you were born. You murdered my husband. You robbed my son of his father. You deserve to die. Why don't you just die?" My younger brother picked up stones from the ground and hurled them at me. "Give me back my dad. Give him back. You killed my father. I'll beat you to death." The golden aura above his head grew fainter while the dark energy thickened. I was beaten bloody, the pain racking my entire body with tremors. I wanted to scream that I didn't cause Dad's death, that I'm not some cursed jinx, but my throat was raw from straining, yet not a sound escaped. I frantically clawed at the dirt with both hands, all 10 fingers bleeding and numb with pain. "Dad's buried down there. I'm a spirit medium, though my powers haven't fully returned. My sincere prayers will surely save him. Out of 17 miners who went down that day, only my father made it out alive. Rescuers carried him on a stretcher with just minor scrapes, but after 3 days underground surviving on a canteen of water, he'd lost all strength. He told everyone his son was his lucky charm, that he'd survived by borrowing his boy's good fortune. Overjoyed, Mom rushed over with my little brother in tow. Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet gave way, strangely enough. The rescue team emerged completely unscathed, but Mom broke her arm. My brother was left bloodied from head wounds, and Dad landed right on a steel rebar that pierced straight through his thigh. If they can't remove the steel bar properly, amputation will be necessary, condemning me to a lifetime of disability. Mom's one arm was in a cast while the other swung like a sledgehammer, pounding my face and body relentlessly. The blows made my head ring as I collapsed to the ground. My younger brother, his head wrapped in bandages, spat at me with pure malice. He even stomped on my fingers with his foot. He claimed his head injury was my fault for bringing him bad luck, and vowed to make me suffer 100 times worse than his pain. My father pointed at my face, screaming at me to get out. Having just escaped death, he ordered me to stay away and stop jinxing him. Then he grabbed a water-filled glass and hurled it at me. My forehead split open, warm liquid trickling down. Was it blood, sweat, or tears? I couldn't tell. It wasn't me. I came to save Dad, I screamed inside my mind, yet no words escaped my lips as I endured their blows. It hurt so much, Heavenly Father. I suddenly don't want to be human anymore. Dad's leg was saved, but he'll be bedridden for months, with no breadwinner left at home and no income coming in. They argue every day to save food. They starved me. I survived by eating weeds and gulping water to fill my empty stomach. The kind old lady next door slipped me an egg in secret, but my brother saw it. He snatched it away and accused me of stealing from our own home. Every egg in this house belonged to my brother. For 5 years, I never knew what an egg tasted like. Enraged, Mother used the dog leash that once bound me to string me up, then whipped me bloody with a cane. She called me a jinx, saying our family's poverty was all my fault. She told me to go die. I bit my lip hard, tears welling up in my eyes but stubbornly refusing to let them fall. I'd already turned 5, but I refused to speak or use my powers to heal Father and bring prosperity to our household. I've stopped hoping for Mom and Dad's love. I don't want them anymore. Auntie came to visit Dad with a basket of eggs, only to find me being beaten while tied up. She immediately stopped Mom, holding me tenderly. She scolded Mom sharply. Bertha, what kind of mother are you? How could you be so cruel? She's your own daughter. Mom stood with one hand on her hip, brandishing a cane in the other. She's no daughter of mine. She's a curse, a jinx that's ruined this family. She's here to bring misfortune to my precious son and waste our food. I disown her. I could strangle that damned mute with my bare hands. With that, Mom tried to drag me out of Auntie's arms to beat me again. My aunt shielded me in her arms, declaring, if you don't want her, I do. If you won't raise her, I will. My aunt handed over every last penny from the household savings to my mother. 109 yuan in total. As Mother counted the stack of small bills, her voice dripped with scorn. Just a worthless burden, that mute brat. When she brings ruin to your family someday, don't come crying to me. When I've raised this girl right, don't you dare come begging to take her back. Without even glancing at my father, my aunt took me back to her place. Her home was just in the neighboring village, a mere 20-minute walk away, but her place was desperately poor. You could say there wasn't a stick of furniture in that house, yet there was a comforting warmth to it. My uncle was a sunburnt farmer, so poor that my mother looked down on this impoverished relative, and our families rarely visited each other. Aunt treated my wounds and said she would adopt me. The dark-skinned man broke into a wide grin, his white teeth gleaming, eyes sparkling with excitement. You're saying she'll be my daughter from now on? I have a daughter. I was afraid Uncle wouldn't like me. To my surprise, he spun around like an overjoyed child, wiping his hands repeatedly on his clothes before crouching down, wanting to hug me but afraid of startling me. How about we call you Jade? You'll be the precious gem your aunt and uncle cherish in our palms. I have no name. My parents never gave me a proper name, just cruel nicknames like Jinx, Money Pit, Little Plague, or Dumb Mute. Jade. I absolutely adore this name. Summoning all my courage, I threw myself into my uncle's arms. He visibly stiffened, then scooped me up with one arm and hugged both me and Auntie together, chuckling heartily. After a long pause, his brows knitted together. Why's my girl so thin? This won't do. We need to fatten you up. With that, he grabbed a knife and charged toward the chicken coop like a whirlwind. That day, I had my first bowl of chicken soup in my life. Only later did I learn that hen was the only chicken my aunt's family owned, kept solely for laying eggs to sell for extra income. When the elderly neighbor heard my aunt had taken in a girl, she hobbled over with her cane, bringing 2 eggs. Feed the child. Don't let her go hungry. I silently recited an incantation, wishing this kind-hearted granny good health. Words manifest as reality. Unbeknownst to her, her steps became steadier on the way home. In just a few days, she'd be walking briskly without her cane. I brought home a hard lump, washed it clean to reveal a golden nugget, half the size of my fist and surprisingly heavy. The next day, my uncle took that hard lump into town. When he returned, he'd bought all sorts of things. Even got me new clothes, and his wallet was stuffed full. It was gold, sold for a solid 20 grand. That's 5 or 6 years worth of harvest for a farmer. They each planted a kiss on my cheeks, and my uncle even spun me around in excitement. He said ever since I arrived, their luck had turned around. I was their good luck charm. I just smiled, keeping my contributions to myself. My aunt and uncle discussed taking me to the hospital now that we had money, hoping to cure my muteness. I panicked when I Heard, we couldn't afford to waste money like that. I urgently tugged at their sleeves and shouted the words I'd rehearsed 1,000 times in my heart. Mom, Dad. They froze in surprise. Oh, my precious girl. The uncle, no, the new father, was laughing through his tears. The new mother wiped her tears too, teasing her husband for being such a softie. How wonderful. I finally have real parents. They tell everyone I'm their lucky charm. Life at home is getting better day by day. Mom raised a brood of chicks, promising all their future eggs would be mine. Dad gave me a little puppy that looked exactly like our old golden retriever, except for a patch of multicolored fur on its back like a birthmark. The moment it saw me, its tail started wagging wildly, begging to be picked up. Every day I'd romp through the fields with Rex. The villagers were incredibly kind to me, always handing out sweets. As the days grew hotter, the rice paddies in the village began to sprout their grain heads. I stood by each rice field, murmuring under my breath. The villagers asked what I was whispering about. With feigned mystery, I replied, I'm reasoning with the rice plants, telling them to grow tall, bear plentiful grains, and bring our uncles a bumper harvest. Everyone was laughing heartily, unseen by anyone. Golden rays enveloped the rice fields, radiating vibrant vitality. Within days, the rice stalks bore plump, heavy ears that bent the plants with their weight. Soon the fields turned golden, and the villagers reaped a bountiful harvest. Everyone jokes that it's thanks to me reasoning with the rice crops. I'm the village's lucky charm. That day, our family of 3 was having dinner when Rex started barking nonstop. To my shock, it was my birth mother and younger brother, hands on hips, cursing at the doorstep. You damned mute, backstabbing thief. How dare you steal my gold? Hand it back this instant. Neighbors came out with their dinner bowls, drawn by the commotion like moths to a flame. My birth mother reveled in the chaos she'd created. She brandished that damned cane, the one that had welted my skin countless times, like I'd committed some unforgivable sin. You thieving mute, hand over my gold or I'll beat you senseless, you worthless brat. My younger brother mimicked our birth mother's stance, hands on hips, spitting at me while barking vicious commands. That's right, give it back. All the gold in this house belongs to me. You're unworthy of our family's wealth. Thief. I'll beat you to death, you filthy thief. After months apart, my brother had grown stockier, with an even thicker aura of darkness swirling around his head. He's destined to bring ruin upon his parents. Once my powers fade completely, he'll become a true calamity. Though I dislike this younger brother, I can't use my verbal magic to harm him. I'll just stand by indifferently. He'll face his own fate soon enough. My brother's eyes gleamed with greed at the new sneakers on my feet. How dare you wear new shoes? I don't even have decent ones, Mom said. You're just a worthless burden, a cheap slut kept alive to fetch my bride price. You're nothing but my dog. I order you to take those shoes off right now. My birth mother came charging at me with a rattan cane. You thieving little bitch. You stole my money to buy these fancy shoes. Take them off for your brother this instant or I'll beat you dead. Mom quickly shielded me in her arms. Dad caught the rattan cane swung by the birth mother and shoved her back several steps. How dare you hit me, Forrest, everyone, come see this. My sister-in-law's family has black hearts. They stole my child, took our gold, snatched my son's new shoes, and now they're assaulting me. Where's the justice in this world? The birth mother plopped onto the ground, fake sobbing while wailing like a banshee, twisting the truth to pin outrageous accusations on Mom and Dad. Dad stood grim-faced, tongue-tied, and utterly helpless against the shrew's hysterical theatrics. Her mother pointed at her furiously. That's a lie. You abandoned Jade yourself. That poor girl was nearly beaten to death by your wicked hands. I took her in to care for her, and now she's my daughter. My daughter would never steal your gold. Don't you dare frame Jade. Her birth mother snapped back. Huh, you barren hag, married to that penniless fool Forrest for 10 years without squeezing out a single brat. Just because you can't bear children doesn't mean you can steal someone else's daughter. You're just jealous of our family's gold, so you made this worthless wretch steal it for you. Give it back, you thieving bitch. Mom and Dad had been married for 10 years, yet they never managed to conceive a child. Though Dad didn't mind, Mom always felt guilty toward him. The biological mother's remark was like rubbing salt in Mom's wounds. Both Dad and Mom were gentle souls who never quarreled with anyone. They were no match for the biological mother when it came to arguments or aggression. She trembled with rage. I didn't. The birth mother sneered triumphantly. Oh really? Then how do you explain your dirt poor family suddenly getting rich after kidnapping my daughter? Coincidentally, our gold went missing right when yours got sold. If someone hadn't told me they saw Forrest sneaking into town to sell gold recently, I'd still be in the dark. Come see for yourselves. These people are thieves. If anything's missing from your homes, they're the ones who stole it. Dad kept the gold sale completely hush. Hush, not breathing a word to anyone about the windfall. The villagers simply assumed they'd made some money selling the new harvest rice, hence all the recent household upgrades. When the birth mother made that remark, it inevitably raised some eyebrows. Humiliated and furious, the parents found themselves tongue-tied with no way to defend their actions. I tugged at my parents' hands, signaling them to stay calm. Standing before my birth mother, the malnourished, sallow-faced child from months ago had filled out with healthy weight, my cheeks now rosy, the childlike adoration I once held for her was gone from my eyes. You claim I stole your gold, then tell me what exactly does your family's gold look like? My birth mother froze in shock, clearly not expecting me to speak. After a long pause, she snapped back to reality and raised her cane to beat me as she always had. You little wretch, how dare you question my gold? I know you stole it. You thieving traitor, I'll beat you dead. Jasper lunged at me too, trying to snatch the new shoes off my feet. A cane came crashing down from above, striking the birth mother's head with a sharp crack. Let's see who dares lay a finger on this girl. It was the old lady from next door, the same woman who could barely walk steadily just days ago now moved with astonishing agility. In 3 swift strides she charged into our courtyard and sent Jasper flying with a single kick. My precious son. The birth mother gasped and immediately pulled Jasper into her arms. He was her whole world. How could she let some old hag bully him? She rolled up her sleeves ready to fight, but the old woman was last year's champion. The birth mother didn't stand a chance. The old lady swiftly landed several slaps across the birth mother's face, then threw me a mischievous wink in between. Before the birth mother could react, she plopped onto the ground and started wailing like a banshee. Help, murder. Someone's trying to kill this old woman. Oh dear, my legs. Broken, I'm having a heart attack, call an ambulance. This old bag's headed for the ICU. Her dramatic tantrum was a preemptive strike that left her birth mother completely flustered, face alternating between pale and flushed. Since I couldn't take her on myself, and my parents weren't the type to get physical, the old granny made the perfect candidate to put the birth mother in her place. I discreetly gave the old woman a thumbs up as she winked at me. The neighbors, never once to miss some juicy drama, quickly spilled all the details about the old lady's powerful connections. Listen, Mrs. Forrest, I'd advise you not to mess with that old lady. Her son runs with a rough crowd. Exactly. Cross her son and losing an arm or leg would be getting off easy. Though the birth mother acted like a tyrant at home, she was all bark and no bite, only bullying those weaker than herself. Hearing about the old woman's formidable connections, she immediately recoiled several steps in fear. This. She fell down on her own. It's got nothing to do with me. You've got to back me up. Here, she even hit me. I just came to get my gold back from that wretched girl. Seeing everyone gawk at her performance but refused to vouch for her, she nearly lost it. Mimicking the old woman, she plopped down onto the ground with a thud. Heavens above, all I wanted was my gold back, and now I'm getting beaten and framed. Suddenly, she shot me a venomous glare and shrieked hysterically, "You ungrateful wretch, after all I've done for you. May lightning strike you dead. I carried you for 9 months, raised you through thick and thin, and this is how you repay me by siding with outsiders. Woe is me, I don't care, hand over the gold or I'll die right here," I said calmly. "Prove the gold is yours, and I'll return it." Seeing me relent, my birth mother rolled her eyes and raised her hand to swear. "I swear, the gold is mine, and if it's not, if I say it's mine, then it's mine." The neighbors egged her on, won't even swear to it. Clearly not hers then. The birth mother was furious at their gossip, but having no way to back down, she could only go all in. "If it's not mine, then..." She looked up at the clear sky and declared resolutely, "May I be struck by lightning." I chuckled, murmuring an incantation. "As you wish. If the gold isn't yours, may you be struck by lightning." Words become law. A golden light transformed into a dragon, soaring miles into the heavens. Boom, a white flash split the sky, followed by deafening thunder. The lightning bolt struck his biological mother square on the head with unerring precision. In an instant, her hair was singed to a frizzled mess, her face turned ashen, and she stood frozen like a wooden statue. The gods have shown their wrath. Sister Forrest angered the deities and got struck by divine lightning. The villagers kowtowed to the clear sky, crying out for divine intervention and begging the gods for protection. I didn't mean to kill her, just to scare her, so even if struck by lightning, it wouldn't be fatal. She stood frozen for minutes, a wisp of smoke escaping her lips before pointing at me with a piercing scream. She's cursed. A monster. That girl's a monster." After screaming, I ignored Jasper's tantrum about snatching my new sneakers, grabbed him by the arm, covered my head, and bolted. Much later, I heard she fell into a cesspit on her way back and nearly drowned. That lightning strike, coming face to face with death, scared the living daylights out of her. She became even more convinced that I was a jinx, born solely to bring her misfortune. The only reason she survived was because her precious son was her lucky charm. It was his protective aura of good fortune that shielded her. When I was in kindergarten, my father used the money from selling gold to lease over 100 acres of village farmland, hiring several workers to help with the labor. The rice harvest yielded exceptionally high quantities of premium quality grain, fetching top dollar and marking Dad's first real financial success. The rice merchant signed another contract with Dad, paying a deposit to secure next year's harvest. Despite the bumper crops, limited farmland meant we couldn't truly strike it rich. After careful consideration, Dad leased vast tracts of farmland from neighboring villages to expand operations. To everyone's surprise, The rice from my father's contracted fields always grew significantly better than crops from other plots. Dad said it was all thanks to my lucky star bringing good fortune. Soon our rundown house was replaced by a 2-story Western-style villa, the most luxurious home in the entire village. To make my school commute easier, Dad splurged on buying a family car. I attended elementary school right in our township. Kids from over a dozen villages across the township all went to this school. Jasper was no exception, spoiled rotten. He grew up reckless and became the school terror, picking fights, causing trouble, and bullying classmates, the classmates' parents. Complained to the teacher. The biological mother stood with arms akimbo, shouting at the top of her lungs while pointing accusingly at the little girl. Which of your eyes saw my precious son bullying her? Clearly this wretched girl is just trying to get my darling boy's attention. Shameless at such a young age. As the saying goes, the child is father of the man. Our Jasper would never stoop to such trash. What a pathetic sight. My precious Jasper wouldn't even want this trash. He's our lucky star, destined for fortune and a city bride. The girl's parents, being simple farmers, could do nothing but swallow their pride and keep their daughter away from Jasper. With his mother's indulgence, Jasper grew even more brazen. At school, he and his gang of boys cornered me. You damn mute, give me $50 for allowance. Most classmates didn't get any allowance, and those who did only got pocket change. But my parents doted on me. They were incredibly generous with my allowance, always giving me $10 bills. I saved every penny and accumulated hundreds over time, remembering how he used to beat me, scold me, and frame me as a child. Waves of humiliation welled up in my chest. I said coldly, not giving it to you. My words infuriated him. How dare you refuse me? I'll beat you to death. Mom always said you're just a money-losing burden. When Aunt dies and you inherit her money, every penny will be mine. I'm spending my own damn money now, and you have the nerve to deny me. I stared at him coldly. So that's what my birth mother had been scheming. My adoptive parents never had children of their own. I'm their only daughter. Their recent financial success has drawn envy from many, including my biological parents. They came knocking several times, but the elderly neighbor lady always sent them packing. Even the toughest bullies back down when facing someone who fears nothing. They knew better than to mess with the old lady, and now, they actually schemed to prey on a family with no heir. Glancing at the dark aura above his head and the teetering billboard nearby, I said, my parents will live to 100, but you won't make it that far. You fucking dare curse me to die. With that, he signaled to his gang of thugs and came at me swinging, for brawling, highway robbery, and all manner of wickedness. 3 days bed rest as punishment, so it was decreed. I dodged nimbly as a nearby fertilizer advertisement toppled over, tripping the whole lot and sending them face first into the dirt. The whole group ended up with sprains and bruises, every single one of them bedridden for at least 3 days. Naturally, the biological mother wouldn't let such humiliation of her precious son slide. She stormed into the school, barged into my honors class, grabbed me by the hair, and yanked me right out of my seat. You little bitch, worthless trash, how dare you hurt my son, I'll kill you. With that, her hammer-like hand came swinging at me. I dodged nimbly. She swung at thin air, lost her balance from the excessive force, and face-planted spectacularly, prompting muffled giggles from our classmates. I had no doubt that slap would have left me half-deaf had it actually connected. She hasn't changed a bit. Every time she hits me, it's like she's trying to kill me. When she missed hitting me, she lost face and started shrieking at the top of her lungs. That wretched girl is cursed. Anyone who gets near her will have bad luck. Just look at me. I tripped the moment I approached her. That jinx will be the death of you, if you value your lives. Stay away from that damned girl. None of my classmates believed her words at first, but within days, my close friends started suffering bizarre misfortunes, broken legs, lost belongings, stomach bugs, and unexplained rashes. Whispers spread that I'd jinxed my biological father too, blaming me for the mind collapse that left him permanently limping. Gradually, everyone became convinced I was cursed. They'd point and whisper, isolating me like some plague carrier. I know it was my birth mother and Jasper who did this. I can't use magic to harm them, but little payback wouldn't hurt. The two of them fell into a cesspit again, reeking to high heaven. My classmates gathered around, pointing fingers and whispering about how I used to sleep in dog kennels, eat dog food, steal family money, bully my younger brother, and disown my own relatives. They painted me as this irredeemable troublemaker, some kind of jinx. Everyone just kept growing to despise me more. It's impossible not to feel heartbroken and miserable. I'll never forget that afternoon when school let out. A row of sleek luxury cars was parked at the school gate. The trucks were loaded with the city's trendiest toys, action figures, Ultraman dolls, toy guns, and more. A beaming man with a toothy grin stood in front of the vehicle. In his hands floated an enormous bunch of colorful cartoon balloons. The balloons danced in the air, looking ready to lift him skyward. That's my dad. And the one smiling gently over there is my mom. The classmates were instantly drawn to all these fancy toys. Dad waved at me and called my name loudly. My mom carried an exquisite cake box and hugged me tightly as my classmates watched with envy. My dad proudly announced to the class that he was my father and invited everyone to ride in our car to town for a KFC birthday celebration. Every classmate could pick their favorite gift. Back then, getting to eat KFC in the city was the coolest thing a kid could do. The whole class erupted with excitement, showering me with birthday wishes and eagerly picking out their favorite gifts. They crowded around me, all green with envy over how awesome my parents were, with a car to chauffeur me around, trips to KFC in the city, and so many cool toys. I became the most envied kid in class. Everyone wanted to be my friend, and those ridiculous rumors about me being bad luck were quickly forgotten. At this moment, I feel absolutely blissful, with all my worries completely forgotten. My parents came to back me up the moment they learned about my situation. Honestly, this KFC meal could heal my soul for a lifetime. Over these years, my parents' business has flourished. They've even established a company specializing in grain and oil trade. My birth father followed Dad's footsteps into farmland leasing, but the crops rotted unsold in the fields, wiping out his entire investment. Then he tried emulating Dad's business ventures, only to get swindled out of a fortune. He went to the city for construction work to make ends meet, but the contractor disappeared after just a few days, leaving him unpaid. My birth mother could only scrape by doing odd jobs wherever she could find them. The problem is Jasper's a troublemaker, always demanding the latest phones, designer sneakers, and picking fights everywhere he goes. The compensation payouts for his victims alone have left his biological parents tearing their hair out. When they ran out of money, they'd come barging into our home, making dramatic scenes to extort cash from Mom. Jasper's father is your own brother of the Chin family bloodline. Now that you've made it big, how dare you refuse to support your own flesh and blood? What decent daughter doesn't give money to the men in her family? I'm warning you, my son is a lucky star destined for fortune. If you don't cough up money to keep him happy now, we might grudgingly throw you some scraps when we're rich. My parents saw right through them and refused to engage. When I started middle school, I got into the city's top institution, municipal First High. Jasper's grades were abysmal. No decent school in town would take him, not even a vocational college, yet his birth mother insisted he was gifted, convinced he'd someday get into university and rise above the common lot. When she learned I'd been accepted by a city school, she confronted me with an air of haughty superiority. You worthless girl, book learning won't do you any good. Your brother's the family's hope. Quit school and give up your spot at First High for him. Your brother is supposed to go to college someday, you know. I feigned surprise. Wait, Jasper didn't get into First High school. Well, with Jasper's brains, schooling would just be a waste of time and money. He'll never make it to college. Might as well send Jasper to learn a trade. At least he'd have a shot at making something of himself. Even without my verbal magic, Jasper wouldn't have stood a chance at college. The birth mother flew into a rage. You wretched bitch, how dare you jinx your own brother? My son's a genius. It's your cursed existence that ruined him. That's the only reason he missed getting into the top high school. You're nothing but a worthless burden, Jasper's lapdog. If I hadn't sent you to live with your aunt, you'd never have had such a cushy life. You ungrateful wretch. How dare you disobey me? I'll beat you to death. As she spoke, she raised her hand again to strike me. I seized her wrist and said coldly, I'm not that defenseless child you could bully anymore. Lay one finger on me, and I'll call the police. With that, I walked away, leaving her screaming her head off alone. She was so furious she marched straight to my doorstep, hands on hips. She started yelling at my parents. You fools, that worthless girl will belong to another family soon enough. Spending all that money on her education is like feeding a stray dog with meat buns. Nothing but wasted effort. Why not let Jasper go to school? He's our lucky star. A real genius will surely get into university and bring honor to our family name. You're childless. When you're old, you'll need Jasper to support you, and when you die, you'll need him to carry your funeral urn. You'd better wise up and treat Jasper right, or I'll make sure he refuses to carry your funeral urn. Mom was so furious she started shouting back in the same manner. I'll pay for Jade's education through college, and even study abroad if that's what Jade wants. I wouldn't want your good-for-nothing son even if you paid me. What's the point, do you think? Your son breaking morning bulls could resurrect me from my coffin. I've got money to spare. I don't need your son to take care of me in my old age. I'd rather donate every penny than give your son a single cent. My birth mother stormed into the house in a rage, ready to hit Mom. In the scuffle, Mom suddenly collapsed unconscious. Mom, panicked, I shoved my birth mother away with all my strength. If anything happens to my mother, you'll pay for it. The power of words cannot be used to harm others indiscriminately. There are consequences to bear, just like when she made that vow years ago. I could summon lightning to punish her, but not harm her without cause. The hospital test results turned out to be incredibly good news. Mom is 3 months pregnant, and it's twins. Not being able to give Dad a child has always been Mom's biggest regret, especially in recent years, as they've become more financially successful. Jealous people couldn't help but mock Mom behind her back. What's the Point of being rich when she doesn't even have her own child, though mom's always treated me as her own and dad never minded. Hearing such remarks still stung a little. My powers grew stronger as I aged, so I channeled years of accumulated magic into a spoken wish. May my parents be blessed with both sons and daughters, living out their days in peace and prosperity. Dad was so overjoyed he laughed through his tears when he heard the news. They hugged me tight, repeating how I was their lucky charm. It was fate bringing siblings into my life that made mom pregnant. My birth mother went berserk upon hearing this. She pointed at my mother and hurled vicious insults, spewing venomous words. How dare you get pregnant? What gives you the right to be pregnant? All your family's money belongs to that worthless girl, which means it rightfully belongs to my precious son. Now that you've had your own son, you'll steal my boy's inheritance. How dare you bear a son to rob my child? No, you can't. Keep it, get rid of it now. I order you to abort that bastard child in your womb. She caused a scene in the ward, even grabbing the doctor and demanding they perform an abortion on my mother, threatening to die in the hospital if they refused. Everyone thought she was insane. In the end, the hospital security threw her out. Mom had pregnancy complications, being an older expectant mother carrying twins, and was hospitalized for several days before being discharged. Dad and I took turns keeping watch at the hospital every day, making absolutely sure our birth mother couldn't get anywhere near her, but our birth mother never showed up again. I knew she wouldn't just let this go. Sure enough, just days later, while Dad was driving Mom to the hospital for prenatal registration, a minivan crashed head-on into them and fled the scene. The car was completely wrecked, and Dad was left bleeding from head injuries. Thankfully, Mom only suffered a scare. The baby in her womb remained perfectly safe. The power of spoken blessings will protect my little siblings throughout their lives. When they arrested my father, he kept shouting that it was all my mother's fault for making so much money yet never giving him a penny. How dare she even secretly have a child to steal his precious son's inheritance? It's all my mother's fault. He was forced into this. In the end, it's always the same old story from my birth mother. If Mom and Dad don't have more kids, all the inheritance will be mine. To them, I'm just their biological daughter. They can still control like a child. What's mine is theirs. What's theirs belongs to Jasper. So the baby in Mom's womb is just a bastard coming to steal Jasper's inheritance. They're going to kill the unborn child. As for Mom's life, that was never part of their calculations. During the police investigation, they kept insisting it was just a traffic accident, at worst, a hit-and-run case. But Dad was determined to sue the biological father for attempted murder, demanding he be convicted of the charge. The birth mother brought Jasper to our house and caused a huge scene. You're fine, aren't you, you bitch? That bastard in your belly's still kicking, and you haven't lost an ounce. Stop being so damn dramatic. He's your own flesh and blood. How could you be so heartless, scheming to destroy your own brother, you vile witch? This is all because you're jealous your brother has a son. The moment she saw me, the venom started flying. It's all your fault, you cursed mute. You're nothing but bad luck. Look how you've ruined your father's life, landing him in prison. You'd better get your aunt to write that letter of forgiveness and compensate your father for emotional damages, or I'll beat you to death, you worthless burden. I pointed at my parents and said, you're mistaken. These are my real mom and dad. You're just my uncle and aunt. Uncle landed in jail because of his own doing. You brought this on yourselves, just because Mom's unharmed doesn't mean you didn't break the law. We'll never sign that letter of forgiveness. As for who's truly the jinx, who's been draining your fortune and bringing you bad luck all these years, you know damn well in your hearts. Stop using this jinx nonsense to cover up your backward, sexist mentality. My birth mother's face darkened with rage, fists clenched as she screamed threats to beat me. You wretched woman, Jasper carries the Chin family lineage. How dare you call my precious son a curse? I'll kill you. Father shielded me behind him, eyes bloodshot as he grabbed a carrying pole from the corner. Get out, out. Jade is my treasure. Lay one finger on my daughter or my family, and I'll bankrupt myself sending you all to prison. Dad had always been an honest, kind-hearted man who'd never lost his temper like this before. The birth mother didn't dare confront him directly, so she left while muttering curses under her breath. The birth father was quickly sentenced, deprived of financial support and emotional anchor. The birth mother seemed to age 10 years overnight. She kept working odd jobs, barely making ends meet to cover Jasper's extravagant expenses. Her precious son was born glowing with golden light, clearing the stormy skies to reveal a rare rainbow. Even when the mine collapsed, claiming many lives, his biological father miraculously survived, if not for her lucky star of a son. How else could one explain all this? So she always firmly believed Jasper was her lucky star. He's destined for greatness and fortune in the future. All the hardships she's enduring now are because of me. Jasper and I are twins. I've drained the lucky one's fortune, leaving her with all this misfortune. You can never wake someone who's pretending to sleep. Perhaps she'd already noticed, but with Jasper being a son and her strong-willed nature, how could she possibly admit defeat? The sunk cost was too high. She could only stubbornly keep believing. Mom gave birth to adorable twin boys and girls. With my magical protection, my little siblings are Thriving, chubby, rosy-cheeked, and glowing with a golden aura, these two little rascals cling to me constantly. The moment I hold them, they become all docile, no crying, just beaming smiles for me. The instant they learned to walk, they became my tiny shadows, following my every step without fail. Mom pretended to be jealous, teasing, "Oh, these little ingrates." Dad beamed with joy. "It's all thanks to Jade's blessings. Jade is our lucky star." I started high school to take better care of me. My parents bought a luxury apartment in the city outright, and our whole family moved there. The property was fully paid for and registered solely under my name. They said it was all thanks to my good fortune that they're living such a comfortable life now. Even though they had 2 other children, the bulk of the family's assets were set aside for me. I joked, "Mom, Dad, don't give me all your money. You'll live to be 100. You should keep more for your retirement." They just laughed and said they didn't care about living long. All they wanted was for us 3 siblings to stay healthy and happy our whole lives. Little do they know, my power of prophecy has already paved the way for our family. They'll live to a ripe old age, and we'll all stay healthy, happy, and together for life. A few days before my college entrance exams, my birth mother came looking for me, clad in tattered clothes. The woman in her 40s looked decades older. Her face weathered like a 60-year-old's, faded scars still marked her face and arms. The moment we met, she broke down in tears before me. She fought tooth and nail to get Jasper into a decent high school. Jasper skipped school every day, got into fights, and bullied his classmates. He even became addicted to online games. He racked up hundreds of thousands in loan shark debts. When the collectors came demanding payment, they took everything valuable from the house and beat both him and his mother. If the money isn't repaid soon, they'll chop off Jasper's fingers. Jade, Jasper is your own flesh and blood. Please help him. I took half a step back, putting distance between us. I'm just a student. I don't have money to help him. A calculating look flickered across my birth mother's face. Isn't your aunt loaded? Just tell them you got scammed and need 50. No, make it 1,000,000. They dote on you so much. They'll definitely give it to you. Besides, they already have their own kids. The family fortune will go to them eventually, so milk them for more now or you'll lose out. I'm your real mother, the only one who truly cares about you. Listen to me, squeeze more money out of them. Once your brother's debts are cleared, make them buy him a big house and a nice car. Then our family of 3 can finally be together. I gave her a long, penetrating look. I cut ties with you people long ago. There's no way I'd scam Mom and Dad out of money. Get that idea out of your head, Jade. My birth mother grabbed me in a furious huff. Why are you so stubborn? I'm your real mother. I carried you for 9 months, gave birth to you, and raised you through thick and thin. I'm your greatest benefactor. You owe me filial piety, Jasper, and I are your real family. You should stand with us. How could you betray us for that thief, you ungrateful wretch? Greatest benefactor, I sneered. Your mercy was nearly drowning me at birth because I was a girl, only sparing me so you could sell me for Jasper's bride price later. All the eggs and meat in this house only for Jasper, while I'm not even worthy of bones, just left to drink your leftover rice water. Is it that no matter what Jasper does wrong, it's always pinned on me, and you beat me senseless without even asking why, as if you'd rather see me dead? Was it to leash my neck like a dog, forcing me to crawl on the ground just to amuse your precious son? I brushed aside the hair on my head, revealing a patch of thinning strands. Was it you who lit my hair on fire with a lighter, leaving me with this permanent scar? My birth mother froze for a long moment, seemingly shocked that I remembered childhood events so vividly. After what felt like an eternity, she snapped out of it, flushed with rage and humiliation. Ungrateful wretch, I'm your own mother. How dare you hold grudges? What did you expect? You're not a boy. Every girl goes through this. Are you jealous I treat your brother better? How spiteful. If you hadn't stolen his good fortune, would our family be this poor? You owe this family everything. Pay us back what you took. She gripped my wrists like a vice and snarled, if you dare refuse me money, I'll come to your school every day and make sure everyone sees what kind of trash you really are. I shook her hand off. Suit yourself. Aren't you about to take the college entrance exam? I'll make sure you miss it and never get into university. Have it your way. Defy me again, and I'll slaughter those 2 little bastards. Her face twisted with smug malice, convinced she'd found my Achilles heel. I stared at her with glacial contempt right before her eyes. I formed a hand seal with deliberate precision. If you dare entertain thoughts of harming my family, you'll suffer unbearable headaches, worse than death itself. I've turned 18 and my magic powers are fully restored. My words become law. The moment she even considers harming my family, agony will consume her. Ugh, my head. What the hell did you do to me, you? Really are my curse, a monster. Arg, it hurts so much. The moment I finished speaking, she collapsed writhing in pain on the ground. It's clear she's genuinely plotting how to harm my family right now. I wish you a long life. Consider it repayment for carrying me for 10 months and giving me birth. A lifetime of poverty and chronic illness live on in agony. Shortly after finishing my college entrance exams, I was kidnapped. My eyes were blindfolded, mouth gagged, hands and legs bound. I felt Myself being tossed into a vehicle, I heard my birth mother's voice on a phone call. Yes, 10 million. If you don't follow my instructions, I'll chop off Jade's limbs and torture her to death. My parents' frantic voices came through the phone. We'll pay. Bertha, please don't hurt Jade. Name your price, we'll give you whatever you want. After arranging the exchange details and hanging up, the birth mother muttered, Jasper, if we deliver this girl to Kane, how are we supposed to squeeze money from your aunt when we're broke later? Jasper snapped impatiently, God, you're unbearable. We're getting a 6-figure debt wiped clean just by delivering some girl. Only a complete idiot would pass up this deal. If we ever run low on cash again, we'll just sell out that worthless brat's whereabouts and extort more money from them. The birth mother praised cheerfully, my son is so clever. It's all this worthless brat's fault for not getting the money from them sooner. What a hassle. I could just kill those two little, my head hurts. This is bizarre. Every time I think about killing those two bastards, I get this splitting headache. Turns out, when their threats failed, they plotted to kidnap me and extort 10 million from mom and dad. Then they handed me over to some boss named Wang to settle his usurious debt. That's highly illegal. I silently recited an incantation. Suddenly, the steering wheel of the car I was in malfunctioned. After a violent brake, the vehicle rolled over, leaving everyone aboard bloodied and battered, unharmed. I freed myself from the ropes, picked up her phone under my birth mother's horrified gaze to call the police, then reassured my parents I was safe. Even as they dragged her away, she kept hurling curses at me. She bore the brunt of the blame as the principal offender and was sentenced accordingly. Meanwhile, Jasper was portrayed as an innocent party coerced by his mother and received a lighter sentence. I visited them when they were imprisoned. Jasper shook his fists, screaming that I was just his dog. How dare a mutt like me fight back? He swore that once he got out, he'd make sure I suffered a fate worse than death, just like back then, when he held the leash that bound me, trampling my dignity underfoot. With a wave of my hand, I withdrew the last remnants of magic from his body. Instantly, the dark aura above his head seemed ready to consume him whole. He had truly become a harbinger of doom. I was the one who altered his fate originally. Now he must return to his destined path. Anyone who gets close to him will meet misfortune, but I've rigged it slightly. Decent folks won't be affected by him. He only makes the wicked suffer worse fates. When I visited my birth mother, she begged me through tears to look after Jasper when he's released. For the sake of our shared blood, I leaned close to her ear and whispered the secret. Jasper is the real jinx. His bad luck crippled his own father and doomed every venture he ever attempted. His curse reduced the whole family to utter poverty, driving them to crime until they all landed in prison. Even after their release, his hex will condemn them to lifelong misery and destitution. The family lineage you've been obsessing over will end completely with Jasper. He will never have children in this lifetime. Originally my sister, I made him my brother to fulfill our birth mother's wish. As the magic faded, he returned to his original destiny, and now he's a man who's into, well, other men. You know, when I say something, it always comes true. My birth mother let out a piercing scream, hurling the vilest curses imaginable at me, but I couldn't feel any pain anymore. My parents have forged me an unbreakable armor with their love. It shields me through life's harshest storms. After graduating college, I became a volunteer. I've trekked across my homeland's mountains with my own 2 feet. I sponsor girls from mountain villages, those named Jowdy or Pundi, or even unnamed, who toil from dawn to dusk doing chores, cooking, feeding livestock, and serving their families, so they can go to school. I tell them they're not burdens. Each one is a unique treasure in this world. They're like jade covered in dust, even in the mud. Their hearts reach for the light. Knowledge, hard work, perseverance, resilience, and unyielding spirit will change their destinies as long as they strive relentlessly and continuously improve themselves. A bright future is guaranteed. Words become reality. My words manifest into truth. The end. Story 2. At first, everyone thought it was just an ordinary typhoon. However, the extreme cold that followed, along with the blizzard, quickly swept across the entire world. The earth underwent drastic changes. Natural disasters struck, food became extremely scarce, and there were corpses everywhere. Everyone was running around, looking for hope of survival, but I wasn't in a hurry at all. I even started a hot pot party with my family. A message popped up on my mobile phone. It was a news push notification reporting that Typhoon No. 28 was about to land in coastal cities. I woke up with a start. I had just had a dream. In the dream, the end of the world had come, and the first sign was the landing of the typhoon. At first, nobody took it seriously. People in the inland areas didn't worry, and those in the coastal areas were already used to it, so no one paid much attention. Everyone thought that this typhoon would at most bring a heavy rainstorm and blow down a few billboards, and then it would be over. However, what awaited them was a fear that they would never forget in their lifetime. The typhoon swept across the continent without any warning. Cars were blown into the sky, and the roofs of unstable houses were ripped off. Pedestrians on the street were either blown away by the wind or killed by things falling from the sky. There was a power outage, no running water, no mobile phone signal. And no internet connection. It was as dark during the day as it was in the early morning. The typhoon triggered a tsunami, and the coastal cities were flooded. Tornadoes swept across the land, the strong wind shattered the windows of houses, sucked out the residents, and they collided with all kinds of debris in the air and were finally torn apart by the wind. Many people died in this typhoon, and it brought panic to countless people, but after the typhoon passed, the sky suddenly cleared up, and everyone thought that this disaster was over. However, it wasn't over yet. After a short period of sunny weather, extreme cold arrived. It was the hot summer, and the typhoon had lowered the temperature, but after the sunny days, the temperature had risen again, and then the arrival of the blizzard, an extreme weather event, directly dropped the temperature from 40 degrees to minus 50 degrees, and it was even getting lower every day. The scenes in the dream were very clear. Everything around was white and hazy. The goose feather-like snowflakes were swirling in the air, and the wind was carrying ice chips. The suffocating feeling when the cold air entered the respiratory tract while breathing was terrifyingly real, as if I would be frozen to death in the freezing cold in the next second. There were corpses lying straight on the ice everywhere. Around me were my relatives who had been dead for a long time, my parents and my husband. They had all left me, between the ice and snow. It seemed that I was the only one left in the world, and when I sat up on the bed sweating profusely, what I heard was the sound of the mobile phone message push notification. The sound of the TV that my husband had turned on came from the living room to the bedroom, vaguely, sometimes near and sometimes far. Typhoon Milan is gradually approaching the continent and may become one of the typhoons with the most serious impact in the century. Please take precautions. And I was still immersed in the dream and hadn't recovered for a long time. The scenes in the dream were too real. Even some details could correspond to reality. Moreover, this wasn't the first time I had this dream. The typhoon warning had been issued for a week, and almost every time I went to sleep, I would dream some scenes intermittently. This really made me think a lot. I shivered in the hot summer, and couldn't help but feel a bit scared. A thought flashed through my mind, a precognitive dream. I didn't dare to say that I was the chosen one, but if it wasn't a precognitive dream, how could I explain that I had had the same dream for so many consecutive days? I immediately got goosebumps all over my body and my scalp tingled. I rushed to the living room and told my husband about this. Ashton was mopping the floor. The TV had already been switched to a different channel, to the TV series that I liked, but I had no intention of watching TV. I took his hand and sat on the sofa with him. Wife, you're awake. He was a perfect husband. We had been in love for many years, and recently we were also planning to have a child. When I told him about the dream, my voice was trembling. If everything in the dream would happen, then we, after listening, Ashton also frowned and was unusually silent for a long time. Then he said, let's pick up Mom and Dad first. He started to call my parents. The two old people were on vacation in the United States. In the past 2 years, Ashton and I had earned some money, so their lives were much easier. Ashton, we just arrived in the US a few days ago and haven't finished playing yet. Why are we in such a hurry to go back? Ashton was an orphan, even though my parents weren't his biological parents, he still respected them very much. Mom, Dad, don't ask so many questions for now. Just come back. This is a decision that Ashton and I have agreed on. I took the phone and said, make sure to be quick. Book the earliest flight and try to come back to China tomorrow. My parents trusted us, although they complained a few times that our decision was too hasty. They also started booking tickets. I breathed a sigh of relief and then asked Ashton belatedly, husband, aren't you afraid that what I said isn't true? He touched my head and said, whether it's true or not, it's always right to be more prepared. I believe you. Then, he also became serious. Besides, I've also been feeling a bit uncomfortable these 2 days, like something's weighing on my heart. I looked at my mobile phone. Today was July 26th. In 2 more days, the typhoon would land, and after the 3-day typhoon, the extreme cold would come on August 2 ND, and the mobile phone push notification that I just received was exactly the same as in the dream. My pupils constricted. There was no time to hesitate. We had to take action immediately. Too. Ashton and I divided the tasks. He was responsible for reinforcing our home again, and I went out to stock up on supplies. With the typhoon and extreme cold weather, it was already a problem to go out, let alone whether those stores would be open or not, so I had to stock up on as many things as possible that we would need in the next few months. Right now, I was afraid that buying things in the surrounding supermarkets would attract the attention of acquaintances, so I specially called 3 trucks to help me transport the goods and went to another district to buy things. I almost swept through all the large supermarkets that I could find in this district. In order not to arouse the suspicion of the supermarket staff, I specifically explained my intention to assist the disaster-stricken areas affected by the approaching typhoon. Some coastal cities that had been raining continuously had already suffered from floods, so my reason was reasonable. The shoppers praised me for being kind-hearted when they heard it. I just smiled and didn't say much, not to mention that the typhoon hadn't arrived yet. Even if it did, most people wouldn't believe my dream even if I told them, so there was no need to waste my breath. Moreover, I also specially hung a banner that said assisting the disaster-stricken areas on the truck. In this way, no one would notice. In the event of the end of the world, self-heating food was essential, so I moved 50 boxes each of self-heating rice and self-heating hot pot in different flavors, with 12 boxes in each box for instant noodles, hot and sour rice noodles and other things that needed to be soaked in hot water. I also took 100 boxes of each flavor. When passing by the instant food area, I took 50 bags each of dumplings and glutinous rice balls. I asked the purchaser for 100 large barrels of bottled mineral water. I didn't bring many beverages. These drinks would make you feel thirstier after drinking them, but they could supplement some sugar when necessary. Just these things that ensured our basic food supply filled 3 trucks. I quickly contacted 2 more trucks. I planned to buy the perishable meat on the 28th. It was still hot now, and the meat would go bad in a day if I took it back. I took all kinds of rice, flour, cooking oil, fruits, vegetables, and the daily seasonings, and filled another truck. All kinds of medicines, alcohol, fuel, and power banks were also essential, considering that extreme cold would come after the typhoon. I also bought a lot of warm keeping supplies such as down jackets, down quilts, cotton quilts, and warm patches. I didn't ask the trucks to transport the supplies home immediately. Instead, I gave them a large amount of compensation and asked them to come over at night after everything was ready. I drove home. The house was still being renovated, but there was someone standing at the door. When I walked closer, I saw that it was our neighbor. I said, "What are you guys doing? Don't you let people sleep? I can't even have a rest on weekends." The decoration workers were applying thermal insulation paint and installing foam layers in the bedroom, and another one was installing a stronger anti-theft door. Indeed, the noise was a bit loud, but I looked at my mobile phone. It was already 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which was within the normal renovation time range. Ashton was standing at the door blocking the neighbor. I walked forward and said, "Sorry, sister, we didn't pay much attention to the noise problem. Well, how about I give you 500 yuan as compensation?" I knew too well what kind of person our neighbor was. Her family was notoriously difficult to deal with. Instead of waiting for her to ask for money, it was better to take the initiative to give her this. "Step down." The woman gave me a fierce look and sneered. "Just 500, who do you think you're trying to fool?" I asked Ashton to get 1,000 yuan in cash from home and said, 1,000 then. Only then did the woman stop making a fuss and went into her own home, still cursing under her breath. Ashton frowned beside me. "We're really letting them off too easily." He usually dealt with people with high quality at work and seldom encountered such unreasonable people, so it was normal for him not to understand. I comforted him. "It's okay, husband, she may not even be able to spend the money we gave her now." It wasn't that I was cold-hearted, it was just that the situation was special. We could hardly protect ourselves, let alone help a stranger with whom we didn't have a good relationship. My parents arrived home at the next afternoon, and the house had also been renovated. We tidied up the room that was originally planned as the baby's room and used it specifically to store the stocked-up supplies. As soon as they entered the house, my parents sat on the sofa and asked me, "Alyssa, you don't know, fortunately, you asked us to come back." As soon as our plane landed, we received the news that some areas in the US were affected by air currents or something and triggered a tsunami, and many people died. My heart sank. Sure enough, this typhoon didn't only affect China, the whole world was affected. My dad saw the things placed in the baby's room and was shocked. "Alyssa, why did you buy so many things and put them at home?" Ashton and I started to explain about the dream. My parents were old, and it was normal for them to instinctively not believe it when they heard this, but then, the weather outside suddenly changed. The heavy rain fell suddenly without any warning. The sky that was clear just a second ago was now covered with dark clouds and was as dark as night. There was thunder and lightning, and the wind was howling. The raindrops hitting the windows were frightening. Our home had been reinforced, but even so, the noise outside was still very loud. One could imagine how terrifying it was outside, but my mom didn't know. She walked to the balcony to lock the windows and saw a tree downstairs had been blown down and there was a person lying under it. She quickly called me over. "Alyssa, come here quickly. There's a dead person downstairs." 3. I walked closer and saw that the pedestrians on the road were already too busy taking care of themselves in the wind and no one was taking care of the person crushed by the tree. Ashton quickly called the police. Just after he managed to report the address, the call was cut off as if someone had deliberately hung up. He looked solemn. Probably the sudden thunderstorm cut off the lines. Now we can't contact the outside world. I looked at the person downstairs. I hope someone can come to the rescue. The change really came too suddenly, and we had no way to deal with it. We could only pray that someone would come to help. My dad was stunned for A long time before he finally came to his senses. So, what Alyssa said is true, I nodded. In a few days, the whole world will be in chaos. Not only that, extreme cold will come later, the end of the world is coming, and none of us can escape. Just in one night, the whole city had changed. The wind was howling loudly all night. The cars and electric bikes downstairs were being blown around by the wind and rain, making rumbling noises. The roof was almost lifted up. The small stones, toys, and leaves picked up by the wind and rain were violently hitting the windows. Our family didn't sleep well all night, not only because of the noise but also because of the fear of the unknown that we were about to face. The next morning, I went to the balcony to check the situation. The rain was still falling, and the scattered objects were being blown around randomly in the air. It was already 8 o'clock in the morning, but the sky didn't show any sign of getting brighter. The person who was originally downstairs had been moved away. There were several more fallen trees, and the water on the road seemed to have reached knee height. I couldn't imagine how the residents on the ground floor were living near dusk. The sky became extremely gloomy. From a distance, it looked like a large gray curtain was pressing over. I thought I was hallucinating at first, but soon, the curtain was getting closer and closer. Wherever it passed, countless debris were sucked in. I was stunned for a moment, and then suddenly realized something. Just as I reacted, I heard the sound of glass shattering. The window of a household in the opposite building was broken. Then, the crazy wind, carrying countless debris, kept hitting that household. The things in the room were blown out by the wind, hit the window frame and were shattered again. I covered my mouth in surprise and watched helplessly as the windows of the opposite building were smashed one after another, probably from the position of the study. The heavy wooden desk was easily blown out by the wind, the bookcase fell down, the chair was smashed, and the computer keyboard was thrown away. Our windows were reinforced, so there was no big problem for the time being. Those broken glass windows should be of poor quality. Even so, I still felt a strong suction trying to pull me out. This wasn't the most terrifying thing. Some people couldn't resist the suction of the wind and had been blown out. They were clinging to the railing, struggling to keep themselves from being blown away. As long as they let go, they would probably be blown out of the high-rise building, torn and smashed by the wind and various debris in the air, and wouldn't even leave a whole body. Suddenly, there was the sound of something heavy hitting the window. I took a closer look and was startled. It was a bone smeared with blood. I was so scared that I backed away repeatedly. Then I saw that the cars on the road were also blown up, spinning in the air, as if they would attack a certain household. In the next second, there was thunder again. The sky had completely darkened. The lightning split the sky, which was terrifying. Ashton heard the noise outside and came out of the room. He was also shocked by the situation outside. I huddled in Ashton's arms. "Husband, what should we do in the future?" Ashton touched my head. "Don't worry, Alyssa, we just need to do what we should do. At least, our whole family is together." For the situation was a bit more stable. On the second day, it was still thundering and raining, but the wind wasn't as terrifying as before. My mobile phone kept flashing. I clicked on it and saw that it was messages in the owners group. "What's going on? This weather is too terrifying. The country should send rescue teams." Right. A lot of people died in yesterday's wind. The window of my house was broken, and a human arm was blown in from outside. You can even be blown out of the house while staying at home. It's really a disaster out of nowhere. Yes, for a while. Everyone was trapped. Then, a message popped up, and everyone fell silent. "This is just like the end of the world." A bolt of thunder struck, crack, splitting the sky. After a few minutes, someone replied, "I don't care anymore. I'm going downstairs to see if there are any supermarkets open. I can't go without lunch." Someone asked him about the situation, but he never replied. In the afternoon, the rain became much lighter. I heard some noises around, and it was the rescue workers sent by the country, delivering supplies to each household one by one. The delivery guy gave us instant noodles and also reminded us, "Don't worry, we will definitely handle this matter well. The whole nation is with you." I thanked him. I felt very inspired and moved, but I really couldn't be happy. It wasn't that I didn't believe in the country's ability, it was just that the coming extreme cold weather was too terrifying. Against this kind of natural disaster, human beings were too insignificant to resist. Messages on my phone came one after another. "The Meteorological Bureau reminds you that the typhoon weather has been extremely severe recently. Please take precautions." At around 6 o'clock in the evening, the rain grew heavier again. Now, it was dark all day long, and there was no difference between day and night. Everyone in the owners group was discussing frantically. I didn't join in the conversation but just watched silently. After 3 days of the severe weather, when everyone was almost unable to sit still any longer, the sky finally cleared up. During these 3 days, we got by with the supplies provided by the country and didn't consume our own food. When the heavy rain stopped, the drainage system broke down, and the water on the street had risen above our thighs, making it impossible to move. On the second day after the sky cleared, while the situation was still okay, I went downstairs with my mom to buy some more supplies. If I remembered correctly, the extreme cold was coming today at noon. The supermarket was crowded with people. Everyone had realized the seriousness of this typhoon and planned to stock up on some supplies at home for emergencies. We managed to buy some meat and vegetables with great difficulty. When we finally finished checking out and came out, we found that there were more and more people outside, but there was hardly anything left on the supermarket shelves. Except for some daily necessities, all the shelves were empty and ants started shouting, "You've taken everything, what are we supposed to buy? Have you no manners?" But everyone was minding their own business and didn't pay any attention to her. There was also a young couple who came together. The girl was a bit worried. "Everything's been taken. What should we do?" The boy was indifferent. "If there's none left, then there's none left. The typhoon has already passed. There's no use stocking up so much." When we got home, my dad was watching the live news broadcast on TV. The good-looking hostess had a smile on her face. "Now, the typhoon crisis has basically been lifted, and everywhere is clearing up." She then randomly interviewed a few passers-by, and their responses were enthusiastic. "Just a typhoon, we've got it under control. It's just a typhoon. I thought it was going to be so tough, after blowing for a few days. It's all good now, right?" There was a relaxed atmosphere, but I looked solemn and couldn't be happy. I glanced at my phone. It was 11:58 in 2 more minutes, the extreme cold would arrive. 5, 3, 2, 1. The scene on TV suddenly changed. The hostess, who was laughing just a moment ago, was now rubbing her arms, trembling so much that she could hardly hold the microphone. "What's going on? Why is it suddenly so cold? Look, it's snowing." Yes, large snowflakes started to fall from the sky. At first, there were just 1 or 2 flakes, which were quickly melted by the high temperature. Then, goose feather-like snow came pouring down. Even at home, I could feel the cold. The real-time thermometer on the wall had dropped from 38 degrees to 8 degrees, and the temperature was still falling. One could imagine how cold it was outside. Ashton immediately turned on the air conditioner and set it to 30 degrees, but it was no use. My parents were weak, and I was worried that they wouldn't be able to bear it, so I quickly took out down jackets and wrapped them up. August snowfall, what a rare phenomenon. The passers-by filmed by the TV even took out their phones to record, not realizing the danger at all. The snowflakes were large, floating in the air with the wind and then falling down. Soon, a thin layer of snow had accumulated on the ground. The temperature change was so drastic that the hostess touched the goosebumps on her arm, shivering from the cold. The words she spoke came out with white steam, but she was still dutifully doing her job, according to reports. Her voice trembled pitifully, making me frown, but I could do nothing. Finally, someone realized that something was wrong and started shouting, "Let's call it a day and go back. This isn't normal." However, it was already too late. A woman holding a baby started crying and shouting, "Is there anyone to save us? My baby's gone stiff." The hostess and the cameraman had already run away, leaving the equipment behind and still broadcasting the situation on the street outside. The baby was already purple all over and had a bluish face. It seemed hopeless soon. The woman also fell to the ground, stiff all over, her face pale, almost the same color as the snow. The life in the city seemed to have been put on pause. The people who used to be busy in the metropolis were nowhere to be seen, only a few stiff bodies lying on the ground. We couldn't bear to watch any longer and were about to turn off the TV when the live broadcast cut off on its own, probably because the temperature dropped too quickly and the equipment malfunctioned. Witnessing all this, I felt a bit dizzy and weak, and was about to fall when Ashton caught me. This was a live broadcast in the downtown area, just a small part of it. What about the whole country? On the first day of the extreme cold, so many people had died. My mom had already started crying. "This is a natural disaster, a natural disaster. Can we survive this?" My dad was trying to comfort her, but his brows were tightly furrowed. Obviously also worried, Ashton put his arm around my shoulders. "We've stocked up enough supplies. In this situation, holding on is the most important thing." I nodded and wrapped my clothes tighter. I opened my phone. The internet had exploded. The hashtags #temperature drop #, August snowfall and #people frozen to death had already topped the trending searches. 6. Everyone was heatedly discussing, "The temperature has suddenly dropped here. It's minus 20 degrees at home now. What's going on? Did you watch the news live? This sudden temperature drop has frozen so many people to death. Isn't the country going to do anything?" It's summer, and we were caught off guard. I don't even have many warm clothes at home. The windows are all frozen. Damn it. The snow outside has piled up to my ankles. Everyone was still counting on the country's rescue and help, thinking that this was just an extreme weather event like the typhoon. No one realized the danger was coming. Someone put forward his idea. "This situation is too serious. It feels like the end of the world. I think it's necessary to stock up on some supplies." Some People agreed, but more were refuting him. Stock up on supplies. Are you kidding? Do you really think the end of the world is coming? You've watched too many movies. Stop creating panic here. So childish. It's 2023 already. There are still people who think they're prophets. I shook my head. I knew this would be the case. The online world was too complicated. If you weren't careful with what you said, you'd be attacked. I wasn't a saint, nor did I want to be a troublemaker. In the evening, Ashton took out a self-heating hot pot, ready to have something hot to warm up. I stopped him. Don't open that kind of thing. Let's make a real hot pot. We had all the utensils at home. We had bought them before but hadn't used them much and they had been sitting idle. I dug out the utensils, washed them clean, and prepared the broth and dipping sauces, all of which we had bought before. I asked Ashton to wash the vegetables and took out the stored seafood and meat rolls from the fridge. My mom hesitated. Alyssa, isn't this a bit too extravagant? I shook my head. In the end of the world, we should be nicer to ourselves. Moreover, we had the means. We didn't know what would happen in the future. Instead of worrying about whether it was a waste, it was better to please ourselves first. Perhaps this would give us more courage to face the unknown difficulties. The utensil was a dual-flavor hot pot. I liked sukiyaki, and Ashton and my parents liked spicy beef broth. The broth melted in the hot water and soon gave off a fragrant smell. I cut some scallions and ginger and put them in to dispel the cold, and then quickly put in some vegetables and meat. The fire was burning brightly, and the soup was bubbling. The frosted meat rolls quickly softened when they met the boiling water. The supermarket downstairs was relatively high-end, and the meat it sold was of good quality. When the meat was cooked through and tender, my mom fished out a piece, blew on it, and then stuffed it into her mouth, letting out a satisfied sigh, and her worried look disappeared. After eating a few pieces of meat from the sukiyaki pot, I fished out a few slices from the spicy pot. When I swallowed them, I felt a thin layer of sweat on my back. I thought for a moment and took out the watermelon that had been frozen a few days ago from the fridge. When I cut it open, there was a crisp sound, and the flesh was bright red. Now the temperature was low, but spicy hot pot with ice-cold watermelon was a perfect combination. I'm not bragging. One bite, and it was really refreshing. Ashton was afraid that I would choke if I ate too fast. He gently patted my back. Alyssa, don't be so hasty. Let's put in some hot pot noodles, I suggested. Eating hot pot without hot pot noodles was like missing the soul. My mom had her mouth full of seafood and mumbled, put in hot pot noodles too. What a waste. I looked at her and couldn't help laughing. Mom, we don't know when this day will end. Let's enjoy life while we can. She thought for a moment and let go. Okay, put them in, eat as much as you want. After eating and drinking our fill, my mom and I sprawled on the sofa, ordering Ashton and my dad to clean up the dishes. I looked at their busy backs and my mom who was scrolling through her phone. If it weren't for the snow falling outside the window in August and us sitting in the air-conditioned room wrapped in thick clothes, I really would have thought that this was just an ordinary summer day, with our family gathering together as usual, chatting and enjoying delicious food, but we didn't know when we would experience such a normal day again. I prayed silently in my heart, hoping that our family could survive this natural disaster. It had been several days since we last saw a normal sky. During the typhoon, the sky was always dark. Now, it was all white, and staring at it for a long time gave me a huge sense of panic. It should be about minus 50 degrees outside now. The country had taken emergency measures, but the effect was minimal. At first, everyone thought that this phenomenon would pass quickly, but after the snowstorm had lasted for so many days, they had to believe it. Everyone was stocking up on supplies. Every day, there were a lot of people downstairs, squatting in front of the supermarket waiting for it to open. There was hardly anything left inside. Almost all the supermarkets had been emptied out. I looked at the people downstairs. They were huddled up, trembling violently, but still waiting, hoping to pick up some leftovers. The news had updated the number of deaths worldwide due to this low temperature. In just a few days, the global population had plummeted by hundreds of thousands, but this was only the beginning. 7 Next, due to the shortage of supplies and the gradually decreasing temperature, the number of deaths would only increase. In the face of this natural disaster, human beings were as insignificant as ants. Outside the window, snowplows were humming, and the sounds of sirens and ambulances were incessant. In this extreme weather, countless old people and children got sick and were hospitalized, and there were also various accidental casualties. I heard that the hospitals were already overcrowded, and even the corridors were full. In the sea of white, the red work clothes of the maintenance worker on the railing not far away were particularly conspicuous. I thought of the hostess who did the live broadcast. Even in this extreme weather, humble migrant workers still had to finish their tasks. Just as I was looking out worriedly, the figure on the telegraph pole was being tossed around by the wind. He hardly had any chance to grab hold and just fell straight to the ground. I exclaimed, and my heart tightened. Instinctively, I closed my eyes. Ashton heard my voice and came over to ask me, Alyssa, what's wrong? I opened my eyes. The red figure had fallen into the snow. He didn't even bleed, probably because his body was already Frozen stiff, I suspected that he might have lost his vital signs even before he fell. I just felt powerless and my heart was clogged. On the 5th day of the extreme cold, the power suddenly went out. I knew the power would go out, but I didn't expect it to happen so soon. I was dreaming at that time and was woken up by the cold. After being woken up, I realized that the room was extremely cold. I was freezing all over. As if I was sleeping on ice, I wrapped my quilt tighter and subconsciously snuggled into Ashton's arms. Then I realized belatedly that the power had gone out. Ashton also woke up. He sat up and talked to me, and his breath came out as white steam. The power's out, he calmly judged, and then took out thicker clothes from the wardrobe and put them on me. I glanced at my phone. It was just after 6 o'clock. There was a little bit of light outside. Better than nothing. I took out the small rechargeable lamp that I had charged in advance from the cabinet, lit it, and then walked out of the room with it. My parents had obviously also been woken up by the cold. My mom was wrapped in a thick down jacket, and her wrinkled face was full of worry. Why did the power have to go out at this time? Ashton had already moved the stove and firewood out. Fortunately, we were well prepared. Being frozen like this, I was wide awake, so I simply sat around the stove with my family to keep warm. In the dim light, the sparks of the burning firewood were jumping, flashing with tiny lights. My frozen hands and feet gradually warmed up after the stinging pain. Recovering a little bit of temperature, the stove was definitely not as good as the air conditioner, but it was much better. I opened my phone. It was 6:30. In summer, it would have been bright outside long ago, but now, there was only a little bit of light and the brightness reflected by the snow-white ground outside. After the power went out, everyone couldn't sit still. The owners group exploded. Why did the power go out? Who can bear this? Isn't anyone in charge? Where's the property management? Does anyone have supplies? My kid is only 6 years old. He's starving to death. Please help us. The person upstairs with the kid was a single mother. She was very nice and had helped us many times. Every time she saw us, she would greet us friendly. Her kid was also very obedient, and we had always had a good relationship. At this moment, seeing her message, I also felt heartbroken. I discussed with Ashton. Let's give them some food. They're not easy. Ashton had also seen the message in the owners group. He thought for a while and agreed. Alyssa, take some self-heating rice and give it to them, but we can't give too much. I quickly got some, and Ashton, worried, went with me. It was just upstairs, and it was quick to climb the stairs, but the wind blowing in through the corridor was like a knife cutting my face. My body, which had just warmed up a little, was frozen stiff and numb again. My nose hurt, and I couldn't stop shivering. The wind outside was still blowing at over 10 levels. Howling, I tightened my collar, trying to block the cold air rushing into my neck. When we got upstairs, in order not to attract others' attention, I knocked on the door very softly. The woman opened the door. She was wearing 2 down jackets and holding her kid in her arms. When she saw us, her pale and bluish face managed to show a little smile. I handed her the things, and she was so surprised that she could hardly speak clearly. The end of her voice trembled extremely. You guys are. I put my index finger to my lips, made a shushing gesture to her, and said the lie I had made up. This is the supplies we snapped up. We're sharing some with you. Hurry and give it to the kid to eat. Her kid's lips were already purple from the cold. If it weren't for the slight up and down movement, I would have doubted that he had no breath left. I couldn't bear to look anymore and turned my face away. She was so moved that her eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Thank you, really thank you. I didn't want her to think that we were sympathizing with her, but there was still compassion in my tone. Hang in there. I hope we can all get through this together. Sure. Thank you so much. I waved my hand and hurried back downstairs with Ashton. Before we could even sit down and warm up, there was a knock on the door. Open up. Is there any food? Open up quickly. 8 then. The sound of glass breaking came from downstairs. I went to the balcony to look and saw that someone downstairs couldn't hold it in anymore and started smashing the storefront with a weapon. The man outside was cursing. I know you guys are home. Open the door and give me the food. I and Ashton looked at each other, and we both recognized the voice. It was the man from downstairs. That guy was a thug, with tattoos and scars all over his body, looking really intimidating. I'm not a saint. The reason I gave supplies to the woman upstairs was that she had a child and had helped us a lot. This man was not only intimidating but also had caused us trouble several times. I didn't want to care about his life or death. If you don't open the door, I'll break it down. Ashton and my dad were squatting by the door with kitchen knives in their hands. I comforted my scared mom. My heart was in my throat, and my mind was racing, thinking about what would happen if he really broke in and how to solve it. Fortunately, the door had been reinforced, and even though he was a strong man, he couldn't budge it. After hitting it several times, he kicked the door again and walked away, still swearing. Hearing his footsteps fade away, I let out a sigh of relief and sat down on the floor, exhausted. I looked downstairs again. The people down there were fighting each other. Strangers braved the severe cold, picked up ice chunks on the snow and threw them in all directions. Anyway, I'm going to die, so you guys won't have it easy either. Someone killed for a bottle of water, and then was robbed by another person. In the end, the water fell on the ground, and in the bone-chilling cold, it froze before anyone could pick it up. I glanced at the thermometer. The outdoor temperature should have reached -60 degrees. Those people quickly lost their strength, and countless people were frozen to death or injured. Nobody got any good out of it. Only the bright red blood that splattered when they moved was conspicuous and dazzling against the snow, but it couldn't last a second. Either, the blood froze into ice, looking eerie and terrifying. I just felt a chill in my heart when danger came. What was more terrifying than the end of the world was the human heart. On the second day after the power outage, the water pipes also froze and burst, and no tap water could come out. In the following days, our family stayed in the living room, huddled together. We couldn't sleep well at night, always worried that someone would come and smash the door. Sure enough, the man downstairs came back several times. He knocked on every door but always left empty-handed. There were others who came too. The woman who ran the cake shop downstairs left the deepest impression on me. She cried heartbreakingly outside the door when she got tired of knocking. I finally managed to get out of the mountains, away from my abusive ex-husband, and open my own shop. I survived the pandemic, the floods, and the typhoon. But now I'm going to die like this. I'm not willing. There was also the man on the top floor. He begged for food for his wife. Please, give us some food. My wife is pregnant and will give birth in a few months. It doesn't matter if I die, but they are the ones I love the most. My heart ached when I heard him, and I really couldn't bear it, but I could barely protect myself, and I didn't have enough kindness to help people I hardly knew. Helping the woman upstairs was already my limit. Moreover, helping others in this situation was equivalent to telling everyone that we had food at home, and the consequences would be unimaginable, so I just silently wiped my tears and hardened my heart to stop listening. A few days later, those people never showed up again. The outdoor temperature had dropped to -70 degrees, and the blizzard was getting heavier. I even suspected that the snow on the ground had piled up to people's knees. The snowplows stopped working, but there were still sounds of smashing and looting outside every day. The snow, which was so white that it glowed, was trampled down again. I thought this was the end of the extreme cold, but the situation got even worse. After surviving the first month, we still had a lot of supplies left, but the firewood and coal were running out. 9. I was extremely annoyed. I should have bought more back then. I didn't expect the power to go out so soon, and I didn't consider how fast they would burn either. Ashton comforted me. Alyssa, it's not your fault. He looked at me with a solemn gaze. It seems we have to get some fuel. My mom was also anxious. Where can we get fuel in this cold weather? My mom was weak, and I was worried that she would get sick. I put a lot of warm patches on her, but it still didn't work. In the absolute cold, the warm patches couldn't even heat up. She was already shivering from the cold, and when she huddled next to me, I could feel the cold coming from her body. I gritted my teeth. There's a forest in the east. I don't know if we can cut some trees there. My dad had already started packing. I used to go fishing there are a lot of trees, so it should be possible. Just as we were getting ready, a message popped up on my phone. The property management said in the owners group, basically, everyone's home doesn't have anything to keep warm anymore. We plan to go to the forest in the east to cut some trees. It's a voluntary activity. If you want to come, meet downstairs at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Considering that not everyone will see this message, we hope you can tell each other. The more people, the more power. In case we encounter something, we can also help each other. We have to come back before dark. Some people in the group agreed, and some opposed. I saw our neighbor post, "Aren't you the property management? I pay so much property fee every year. Why do we have to do this kind of thing ourselves?" Nobody paid any attention to her, and soon her message was pushed down. The next day, our family got dressed neatly, took out our thickest clothes, and each of us grabbed a machete. They didn't want me to go at first, but I insisted. The more people, the better. We can look out for each other. The 4 of us can get more, so we can reduce the number of times we have to go out. Ashton was worried and took a dagger with him, warning me, "Alyssa, you must stay close to me." When we got downstairs, a lot of people had already gathered, mostly young people. And there were also some middle-aged people like my parents. There were very few old people, after all, in this situation. Old people with poor physical fitness couldn't last long, unless they were desperate. Nobody would be willing to take risks. Besides the people gathered, there were also a lot of corpses lying straight on the ground. Everyone was used to it and didn't show any surprise, but it was my first time facing such corpses directly, and I couldn't help but feel scared, even though I knew that dead people like this were everywhere in the world now. Just as I was thinking, my foot was suddenly grabbed by something. I looked down and saw that it was a frozen person. He had no strength left and was barely hanging on. Grabbing my pant leg with his last breath, I screamed and shook my leg hard to get rid of his hand. He twitched twice on the ground and then stopped breathing. Ashton hugged me to comfort me. After I calmed down, I looked at the face of the person on the ground. It was the security guard. He was old, and it was not easy for him to hold on until now. Probably he also wanted to follow the group to cut some firewood, but he just couldn't make it because the security guard was nice, everyone liked him, so someone looked at him and sighed sympathetically. What a pity, what a pity. I couldn't bear to look anymore and felt a sense of sadness in my heart, looking at the endless snow and the gray sky. I just felt desperate. If you really want to say they were pitiful, we survivors were even more pitiful. Maybe dying was a kind of relief. I was shocked by my own thought and quickly grabbed Ashton's hand firmly. Husband, we must hold on. We had stocked up so many supplies, which was much better than others. Others were still holding on. So how could I think like that without wasting any more time? When the time came, the property manager picked up a megaphone and shouted in front, everyone, stay close and don't get separated. We must come back before dark. The wind blew the snow like knives towards us, and the bone-chilling cold hit the exposed skin, followed by a stinging pain, then numbness, and finally loss of sensation. I tightened my mask and hat, afraid that they would be blown away. The snowstorm was getting heavier. I looked up at the gray sky during a break and just felt depressed and suffocated. I don't know how long it took, but I felt my whole body going numb. Ashton led me forward, and I felt that I was only holding on by sheer willpower. I was about to pass out when my eyes went black. Suddenly, the crowd got excited. We're here, we're here. All of a sudden, everyone rushed forward. Ashton helped me sit down. Alyssa, you rest here for a while. We'll go chop wood. I nodded. We brought baskets. They chopped in front, and I followed behind to pick up the wood. When I had rested enough, I would replace my mom and go chop. Chopping wood was not easy. Some trees were soaked and couldn't be used, and the ones that could be burned were also hard to chop. I didn't have much strength, so I didn't chop much. Fortunately, my dad and Ashton were strong. As expected, more people meant more strength. After taking turns chopping for several hours, the 2 baskets my mom and I carried were full. The property manager picked up the megaphone again and shouted, let's go back. If we don't go now, it'll be too dark to leave. Everyone was satisfied, although a bit reluctant. We had to go back in the end. There were also a few people who didn't listen and continued to chop wood with their heads down. The property manager sighed. Nobody said much, and we just packed up and left. The way back seemed shorter than the way there. Maybe it was because we were carrying the heavy hope on our backs, so we walked more lightly. When we got to the downstairs of our community, I quickened my pace and hurried into the stairway, but then there was a commotion behind me. I looked back and saw that someone was trying to snatch other people's firewood, and several people were fighting. The knives were thrown out and fell on the ground, reflecting a terrifying light. The firewood fell on the ground, and those who hadn't joined the fight couldn't resist the temptation and rushed forward to snatch it. In the chaos, Ashton covered my eyes. Let's go back. We didn't want to pick up this kind of bargain. We just wanted to stay out of trouble. Fortunately, we didn't live on a high floor, and most people were downstairs in that pile. There weren't many people in the stairway, so we quickened our pace and soon reached our door. I took off my hat and mask and was about to catch my breath when I was startled by a black figure in the corridor. It was our neighbor, 10. She lived alone and didn't want to do the physical work of chopping wood, so she was waiting at our door to pick up something for free. The knife in her hand reflected her ferocious face. Give me the firewood or I'll kill you. I just found it ridiculous. One person actually wanted to face the 4 of us. My dad and Ashton exchanged glances and put down the baskets, taking out their machetes. She held the knife in front of her chest and rushed at us. Ashton was quick and kicked the knife out of her hand. Clang, clang. The knife fell on the stairway and hit the stone steps. When she saw that her sneak attack didn't work, she started to make a scene. You guys have no conscience, bullying a woman like me. She rushed over to snatch our firewood but tripped over the machete I had dropped on the ground. She lost her balance and fell straight down the stairs. Her body landed on the knife, and her head hit the wall. She opened her eyes wide in disbelief and spat out blood as she spoke. You guys, I didn't want to look anymore. This result was all her own doing, and it had nothing to do with us. It was too cold outside, and we couldn't bear it anymore, so we quickly entered our home. My dad put the last bit of firewood we had into the stove, and the fire burned, warming us up a bit. I rubbed my numb hands, and the snow on my hands melted, leaving my hands wet. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. I immediately became alert. Ashton frowned and went to look through the peephole. It was the woman upstairs. She still looked pale. I hadn't seen her for a long time, and she had lost a lot of weight. Only her eyes were still bright. She was carrying some firewood, probably also having just come back from chopping wood with us. Maybe she was following behind, so we didn't notice her. I hesitated whether to open the door. She seemed to know our concerns. I saw her through the peephole put down the firewood and turned to leave. I quickly called out, "What are you doing?" The woman smiled. "I was lucky and chopped a lot of firewood. I also picked up a lot of leftovers just now. I'm alone, and I don't need so much. You have 4 people, and you need it more than me." I noticed the word alone in her words and asked hoarsely, "Your son?" She lowered her head and after a moment said, "He didn't make it. He passed away a few days after you gave me the supplies." She was referring to the time a month ago when I went to give Her supplies. I didn't know what to say to comfort her, so I just stayed silent. She faced the door, knowing I was looking at her through the peephole, so she forced a smile in this direction. Don't worry about me. My two neighbors fought over each other's food and neither of them came out on top. They died the next day without any treatment. Fortunately, there were still a lot of supplies left in their homes, and I picked up the leftovers. These are enough for me to live for a while. Thank you for giving me food last time and saving my life. Otherwise, I wouldn't have survived until now. My heart ached, and I almost cried. I choked out my thanks. The woman left, and Ashton opened the door to bring in the firewood. I was still standing there looking. There was still true kindness in the end of the world. The kindness I gave her was returned in the same way. We had been very sparing in using the firewood, but it still ran out quickly. My dad wanted to go chop some more, so he asked in the group. Only a few people responded. The property management was gone too. When we gathered, including us, there were no more than 20 people. There was no water, no food, no electricity. We had reached our limit. The outdoor temperature had dropped to -80 degrees. We really couldn't hold on any longer. When the last batch of firewood was used up, we opened the remaining self-heating hot pots. After drinking the hot soup, we knew the final moment was coming. 11. The whole world was frozen. With only the overwhelming snow and corpses everywhere, I and Ashton wrapped ourselves in thick quilts and huddled together, frozen until we had no feeling in our bodies. Ashton kissed me as usual. Go to sleep, Alyssa. I snuggled closer to him, expressing my last love. I'll marry you again in the next life. The 30-year-old man suddenly had red eyes. It's my fault. I couldn't take good care of you. I shook my head and closed my eyes. My body started to warm up. I thought I was about to die. But then the air conditioner made a sound. I opened my eyes and saw the fan of the air conditioner turning and blowing hot air. I and Ashton sat up in surprise. What's this? The TV in the living room made a crackling sound. We scrambled to the living room and looked at each other and our parents, seeing disbelief in each other's eyes. The TV started to make a sound. Central Radio. Fighting disasters is the responsibility of all mankind. The country is now, currently, the power supply has been restored. Please be patient and don't give up any hope of survival. We will rescue everyone with all our strength. Please hold on. The Chinese people are united as one and will never give up. I collapsed on the floor and cried hysterically. We're saved. We're saved. My mom was also crying, extremely excited. A faint shout came from across the street. Is anyone still alive? Soon, people started to respond one after another. I'm here. Are you all okay? I recognized the voice of the woman upstairs. She shouted. Someone's here. They're coming to save us. The country is already rescuing everyone. Hold on. Our family looked at each other and shouted out with sobs. We're all here. We can all survive. The lights in the survivors' homes lit up, shining brightly in the darkness that was the hope of survival.